The Lifestream is a river of memories. It flows through time, carrying the voices of the past, the present, and the future. Usually, the current is strong. It pulls destiny in a single, unyielding direction. We know the story. We know the tragedy. A soldier stands against an army on a cliffside. He fights for honor. He fights for a friend. And he pays the ultimate price, passing his dreams and his sword to the survivor. But the river is not fixed. Sometimes, a single stone can change the flow of the water. Sometimes, one refusal to die can shatter the timeline. Welcome back to the archives. Tonight, we are opening a forbidden tome. We are asking the question that has haunted the seventh world for decades. What if the puppy didn't die? What if Zack Fair walked away from that cliff, dragging the future of the planet on his back? This is not a story of victory. It is a story of survival. It is the story of two broken soldiers against a world that wants them dead. Take a deep breath. Close your eyes. The ambush is over. The silence is deafening. And for the first time in history, the hero is still breathing. They say that when you die, the planet claims you. The Lifestream swells up like a green tide, warm and inviting, and washes away the pain. You become a memory. You become part of the flow. I had made my peace with that. I was ready. I had swung the sword until my arms were numb. I had screamed until my throat was raw. I had fought an entire army for the sake of one friend. And as the sky turned gray and the bullets stopped flying, I closed my eyes and waited for the embrace. But the embrace never came. Instead, there was only pain. A sharp, jagged line of fire running across my chest. The throbbing ache in my shoulder where a bullet had grazed the bone. And the cold. The gods' awful cold. I opened my eyes. The sky was not the warm glow of the Lifestream. It was the color of wet slate, heavy and oppressive. A single drop of rain hit my cheek. Then another. Then the heavens opened up, and the cliffs of the wasteland were washed in a torrent of gray water. I was alive. I tried to laugh, but it came out as a wet cough that tasted like copper. Alive. Against all odds, against every calculation Shinra had ever made, the puppy was still kicking. I pushed myself up. My arms shook violently. The mud beneath my gloves was slick, mixing with the fluids of the battle. I looked around. It was a graveyard of steel and crimson. Helmets, rifles, shattered pauldrons. The Shinra infantry had retreated, likely assuming that 3 battalions were enough to put down one exhausted soldier first class. They were wrong. They were always wrong about us. They thought the serum made us monsters, but it was the human heart that made us dangerous. I forced my knees to lock. I stood up, swaying like a drunkard in the rain, my vision blurred, swimming in and out of focus. I looked down at myself. My uniform was shredded. My armor was cracked. I was bleeding from a dozen places, but nothing fatal. Nothing that would stop me. Not yet. Then I remembered. Cloud's name ripped through my mind like a lightning bolt. I spun around, nearly falling over in the process. He was there, slumped against a rock, his blonde hair matted with dirt and rain. His eyes were open, but they were empty. That glowing, unnatural blue, the mark of Mako, stared at nothing. Cloud, I croaked. My voice sounded wrecked. I stumbled over to him, falling to my knees beside him. I grabbed his shoulders and shook him. Cloud. Hey, wake up, Spike. He didn't blink. His chest rose and fell in shallow, hitching breaths. He was deep in the toxicity, Hojo had marinated him in pure mako for 4 years. It was a miracle his heart was still beating. But his mind? His mind was somewhere else, drifting in a sea of memories that didn't belong to him. I checked him over. No bullet holes, no stab wounds. I had done my job. I had been the shield. A wave of relief washed over me, so powerful it nearly knocked me unconscious again. He was safe, but we were not safe here. The Turks would come back, or scavengers, or monsters. We were miles from civilization, standing on the precipice of the wasteland, with the great steel city of Midgar looming on the horizon like a dark, mechanical god. I looked at the city. The plate blocked out the sky, a massive disk of steel that separated the rich from the poor, the chosen from the damned. I used to look at that city and see opportunity. I saw a place where a country boy from Gongaga could become a hero. Now I just saw a cage, but it was the only place we could go. Aerith was there. The thought of her was like a shot of adrenaline straight to the heart. Aerith, the flower girl with the eyes that knew too much. I had promised her. I had written 89 letters that never reached her. I promised I would come back. I promised I would buy the flowers. I grabbed the hilt of the Buster sword. It was heavy, heavier than I remembered. Anjil used to say that this sword was a symbol of dreams and honor. Right now, it felt like a slab of iron. I couldn't sheath it. The magnetic lock on my back was broken. I would have to drag it. I looked at Cloud, then I looked at the sword. Then I looked at the miles of rocky, rain-slicked badlands between us and the city. All right, I whispered to the rain. One step at a time. I grabbed Cloud by the back of his vest. He was light, terrifyingly light. Muscle atrophy. He had been floating in a tube while I did squats in the cell next door. I hauled him up, draping his arm over my good shoulder. He groaned, a low, pathetic sound that broke my heart. Move your legs, Cloud, I muttered, gripping his waist. Just pretend we are running drills. Come on. He stumbled, his feet dragging in the mud. He was dead weight. I was carrying a ghost. We began to walk. The journey was a blur of misery. Every step sent a jolt of pain through my chest. My boots felt like they were filled with lead. The rain was relentless, soaking through my clothes, chilling me to the bone. It washed the blood off my skin, but it couldn't wash away the exhaustion. Left foot, right foot. Drag the sword. Left foot, right foot. Drag the sword. The sound of the blade scraping against the stones was rhythmic, hypnotic. Scrape, step, scrape, step. It became my mantra. It became the only thing keeping me tethered to reality. My mind began to wander. I started seeing things in the rain, shadows that looked like Sephiroth. The silver hair, the long coat. I would blink, and it would just be a jagged rock. I saw Anjil floating above the cliffs, his white wings spread wide, looking down at me with that stoic disappointment. Use the sword, Zack. Do not let it rust. I am using it, I snapped at the hallucination. I am using it to save him. Isn't that what you wanted? Isn't that what honor is? Anjil didn't answer. He dissolved into mist. Cloud's head lulled against my shoulder. He mumbled something. I leaned in close, trying to hear him over the wind. Mom, he whispered. I gritted my teeth. The rage flared up, hot and sudden. Sephiroth. That monster took everything from us. He took Nibelheim. He took Cloud's mother. He took our sanity. And for what? For a lie. For a twisted legacy written in ancient stone. Hold on, Cloud, I said, my voice fierce. We are going to fix it. I promise. I am going to get you to a doctor. Then we are going to find Aerith. And then we are going to make them pay. Hours passed, or maybe days. The sun began to set, casting the wasteland in a bruised purple twilight. The rain finally slowed to a drizzle, leaving the air thick with humidity and the smell of wet rust. We reached the highway. It wasn't much of a highway anymore. It was a broken ribbon of asphalt that snaked its way toward the Midgar slums. Weeds cracked through the pavement. Rusted hulks of old cars littered the shoulders, but it was solid ground. I let Cloud slide down against the guardrail. I needed a second, just a second. I leaned on the buster sword, gasping for air. My vision was tunneling. I checked my side. The bleeding had stopped mostly, but the fabric of my uniform was stuck to the wound. That was going to be fun to peel off later. I looked up at the city. We were closer now. I could see the lights of the upper plate. The reactors glowed with that sickly green hue Mako energy, the lifeblood of the planet, being sucked dry to power toasters and televisions. I used to think the glow was beautiful. Now it looked like an infection. A rumble in the distance caught my attention. I tensed, my hand tightening on the sword hilt. An engine, heavy, diesel. Not the high-pitched whine of a Shinra electric transport. This was old tech. A pair of headlights cut through the gloom. An old, beat-up pickup truck was rattling down the highway, heading toward the city. I didn't think. I stepped out into the middle of the road. I raised my hand. The truck screeched to a halt. The brakes, squealing in protest. It stopped 10 feet from me. The driver stared through the cracked windshield. He was an old man, skin like leather, wearing a greasy cap. He looked at me, a giant of a man carrying a sword taller than him, covered in blood and mud. Then he looked at the comatose boy slumped against the rail. He didn't look scared. He looked tired. "Need a ride?" the old man yelled over the idling engine. I lowered my hand. My knees felt like they were about to buckle. "Yeah," I rasped. "Yeah, we do." "Hop in the back," the man said, spitting out the window. "Don't get blood on my upholstery." I went back to Cloud. "Come on, buddy. Last leg of the trip." I lifted him into the bed of the truck. It was filled with hay and crates of rusted machine parts. I laid Cloud down on the hay, making sure he was comfortable. Then I climbed in beside him. The truck lurched forward, the suspension groaning under the added weight. I sat with my back against the cab, the buster sword resting across my lap. The vibration of the engine was soothing. It rattled my bones, shaking the tension out of my muscles. As we drove, the wasteland rolled by. I watched the scenery change. The rocks gave way to piles of junk, mountains of trash, the debris of a city that consumed everything and produced nothing but waste. We were entering the gravitational pull of the slums. I looked at Cloud. He was sleeping peacefully now, the nightmare of the Mako seemingly paused by the motion of the vehicle. "We made it," I whispered. I reached into my pocket and pulled out a phone. It was smashed, screen shattered, battery dead. I tossed it over the side of the truck. I didn't need it. I didn't need to call Seng. I didn't need to report to Lazard. Soldier first class. Zack Fair was dead. He died on that cliff. Who I was now, I wasn't sure yet. The truck passed under the shadow of the plate. The sky disappeared, replaced by the massive steel underbelly of Midgar. The air grew thick with smog and the smell of frying oil and sewage. It was the smell of home. The driver slowed down as we approached the gates of Sector 5. "Where are you headed, son?" the driver called out from the cab. I looked at the slums. The shanty town was a chaotic mess of corrugated iron and tarp, lit by lanterns and neon signs. It was ugly. It was dangerous. It was perfect. "The church," I said. "The old church in Sector 5? The driver grunted. "You got a girl waiting for you?" I smiled. It was a weak, tired smile, but it was real. "Yeah," I said, "I do." The truck rattled on, navigating the maze of the slums. I closed my eyes. I let the sounds of the city wash over me. The shouting of vendors, the barking of dogs, the distant hum of the reactors. It was life. Chaotic, messy, loud life. I thought about the price. I thought about the troopers I had killed back there. I thought about the life I was leaving behind. The honor of soldier. The dream of being a hero. It all felt so distant now. I looked down at my hands. They were stained with dirt and blood. They didn't look like the hands of a hero. They looked like the hands of a survivor. We stopped. "We are here," the driver said. I opened my eyes. We were parked in front of a dilapidated building. The roof was full of holes, and the walls were crumbling. But I could see a faint glow coming from inside. The flowers. I knew they were there. I thanked the driver and hopped out. My legs protested, seizing up after the rest, but I ignored them. I grabbed Cloud and hauled him out of the truck. "You take care of yourself, kid," the driver said, eyeing my sword one last time before driving off into the smog. I stood there for a moment, holding Cloud up, staring at the wooden doors of the church. My heart hammered in my chest. What if she wasn't there? What if she had moved on? What if she saw me broken, scarred, carrying a vegetable and turned away? No, not Aerith. Aerith would never turn away. I took a deep breath, inhaling the scent of lilies that drifted through the cracks in the wood. I kicked the door open. The inside of the church was quiet. The floorboards were rotten, but in the center, illuminated by a beam of light falling from the hole in the roof, was a garden. Yellow lilies, dozens of them. And there she was. She was kneeling by the flowers, a watering can in her hand. She wore a simple pink dress and a red jacket. Her hair was tied back in that long braid I loved. She froze when the door opened. She stood up slowly, turning to face the entrance. The light caught her face. Her green eyes widened. She dropped the watering can. It clattered onto the wooden floor, the sound echoing in the silence. I stood in the doorway, a silhouette against the slum lights. I was covered in mud. I was bleeding. I was carrying a half-dead boy. I probably looked like a monster. "Zack?" she whispered. Her voice was soft, trembling. It was the most beautiful sound I had ever heard. I tried to walk toward her, but my legs finally gave out. I sank to my knees, dragging Cloud down with me. The Buster sword clattered to the floor. "I kept my promise," I rasped, tears finally mixing with the rain and blood on my face. I came back. Aerith ran. She didn't run away. She ran to me. She fell to her knees in the dirt, not caring about her dress. She wrapped her arms around my neck, burying her face in my shoulder. She was warm. She smelled like flowers and sunshine. "You are late," she sobbed, holding me tight. "You're so late, you jerk." I laughed, a broken wheezing sound. "I know," I whispered, resting my head against hers. "I know." I looked over her shoulder at Cloud. He was lying on the floorboards, staring up at the hole in the roof. For a second, just a second, I thought I saw a flicker of recognition in his eyes. But then it was gone. We were safe. We were home. But as I held Aerith, feeling her heart beat against my chest, I knew the truth. This wasn't the end. This was just the eye of the storm. Shinra wouldn't stop. Sephiroth wouldn't stop. The planet was screaming, and I was the only one who could hear it. I closed my eyes and let the darkness take me just for a little while. Tomorrow, I would have to be a soldier again. Tomorrow, I would have to fight the world. But tonight, I was just a guy who kept a promise. Waking up didn't feel like a triumph. It felt like drowning in slow motion. My eyes snapped open, expecting the gray sky of the wasteland or the barrel of a Shinra rifle. Instead, I saw wood. Rough, dark timber beams crossing a ceiling that smelled of old dust and dried herbs. The mattress beneath me was soft, too soft. My back ached, a deep, bruising throb that radiated from my spine to my fingertips. I tried to sit up, but a hand gently pushed me back down. "Stay down, Zack. You are not ready yet." Aerith. I turned my head. She was sitting in a wooden chair beside the bed, a wet cloth in her hands. She looked tired. There were dark circles under those emerald eyes. But her smile, that smile was the only light in the room. "Cloud," I croaked. The panic was instant. "Where is he?" "He is in the other room," she whispered, dipping the cloth into a basin of water. "Mom is watching him. He is safe. He is sleeping." I let out a breath I didn't know I was holding. Safe. The word felt foreign on my tongue. We were in the slums. Sector 5, the underbelly of the beast. Nobody was safe here, not really. But we were alive. I let Aerith clean the grit from my face. Her touch was careful, avoiding the cuts and the bruising. I looked at my arms. They were bandaged heavily. I felt like a mummy. A mummy that had been chewed up by a behemoth and spit out off a cliff. "How long?" I asked. 3 days, she said softly. "You have been in and out of a fever. The wounds they were bad, Zack. 3 days." I closed my eyes. 3 days meant the trail was cold. It meant the Turks, if Seng was even looking for us, might assume we died in the wastes. Or maybe they knew exactly where we were and were just waiting for us to make a mistake. "I need to get up," I said, pushing through the pain to swing my legs over the side of the bed. "Zack, please, I can't lay here, Aerith. I need to see him. I need to see the exits." She didn't fight me this time. She knew me too well. She just offered me her shoulder. I leaned on her, feeling pathetic. I was a soldier first class. I could bench press a chocobo. Now I needed help walking to the door. We shuffled out of the bedroom and into the main living area of the house. It was a cozy place, cluttered with knickknacks and smelling of stew. But the tension in the air was thick enough to cut with a knife. Elmira was sitting at the table, shelling peas. She didn't look up when we entered. I knew that look. It was the look of a woman who had seen too much war and wanted nothing to do with it. She had warned Aerith about soldiers. She had told her we only brought trouble. She was right. In the corner, on a makeshift cot, lay Cloud. I pulled away from Aerith and stumbled over to him. He looked worse than he did in the wasteland. His skin was pale, almost translucent, with veins of glowing green pulsing faintly beneath the surface. The Mako poisoning. It wasn't just a chemical bath. It was rewriting his biology. He was muttering. A constant low-frequency stream of nonsense. Sector 1, reactor, mother, coming. I knelt beside him. "Hey, Spike," I whispered. "I am here." He didn't react. His eyes were open, staring at the ceiling, but the pupils were dilated, swallowing the blue. He was gone, The lights were on, but nobody was home. I felt a hand on my shoulder. It was Elmira. "He needs a doctor," she said, her voice sharp but not unkind. "A real doctor, not the quacks down here who stitch up gang members. He is burning up from the inside." "I know," I said, staring at Cloud's hand. It was trembling. "I can't take him to the upper plate. Shinra will kill him on sight." "Then he is going to die here," she said bluntly. "And he might take you with him." "Mom!" Aerith snapped. Elmira sighed, wiping her hands on her apron. "I am just saying the truth, dear. You brought 2 fugitives into my house. One is a vegetable and the other is a walking target. I will help because I love you, but don't expect miracles. This isn't a fairy tale." She walked into the kitchen, the sound of her footsteps heavy with disapproval. I looked at Aerith. She looked away, biting her lip. "She is right," I said quietly. "No, she isn't," Aerith said fiercely, kneeling beside me. "We can fix him. The planet says his mind is fragmented. It is like a puzzle that fell off the table. We just need to put the pieces back together." I looked at Cloud. A puzzle. That was one way to put it. To me, he looked like a ruin. We spent the next week existing in a state of suspended animation. I healed fast. The Genova cells in my body, the ones Hojo had injected me with, were working overtime. The cuts closed. The bones knit. My strength started to return, but it was a restless, angry strength. I was trapped. I couldn't go outside during the day. Aerith said there were patrols, infantrymen asking questions about a tall man with a big sword. So I stayed inside. I did push-ups until my arms shook. I paced the floorboards until Elmira yelled at me to sit down. But the nights were when the reality set in. I would sit on the roof of Elmira's house, looking up at the plate. The people of the slums called it the rotting pizza. It was a fitting name. A massive, greasy steel sky that dripped oil and blocked out the stars. Up there, in the city of light, life was going on. People were going to work. They were watching the news. They were probably hearing reports about the terrorist incident near Nibelheim. A cover-up. It was always a cover-up. I looked at the Shinra building in the center of the plate, glowing like a beacon of arrogance. Somewhere in that tower, Hojo was laughing. Somewhere in that tower, Sephiroth was... Well, I didn't know where Sephiroth was, dead, hopefully. But I knew better. You don't kill a nightmare that easily. One night, Aerith climbed out onto the roof to join me. She sat down, pulling her knees to her chest. She didn't say anything for a long time. She just looked at me, her eyes tracing the scar on my cheek. "You're thinking too loud," she said. I smirked, but there was no humor in it. Just wondering how much a ticket to Costa del Sol costs these days. "You wouldn't go," she said. "You wouldn't leave him." I looked down at the window where Cloud was sleeping. No, I wouldn't. But I can't stay here, Aerith. I am eating your food. I am putting you in danger. Every second I am in this house, I am painting a target on your back. She reached out and took my hand. Her fingers were cool, grounding. I am not afraid of targets. Besides, where would you go? The slums are a maze. You need a guide. I need money, I said, squeezing her hand. Cloud needs medicine, real medicine, not herbs. He needs stims to keep his heart rate up. He needs Mako suppressants. That stuff costs Gil, a lot of Gil. I have some savings, she started. No, I cut her off. Absolutely not. I am not taking your flower money. I am a soldier. I can work. You are a dead man, Zack. she reminded me gently. You can't just walk into a temp agency and show them your ID. I stood up, the metal of the roof groaning under my boots. Then I won't use my ID. I will use my sword. There has to be work down here. Monster hunting, guard duty, something. Aerith looked worried, but she didn't stop me. She knew. She knew that a wolf couldn't stay in a cage forever. Eventually, he would chew through the bars. The next morning, I made my move. I couldn't wear my uniform. The purple suit, the pauldrons, it was a death sentence. Elmira dug out some old clothes from a trunk, a sleeveless black shirt that smelled like mothballs, and a pair of baggy cargo pants. I wrapped my arms in bandages to hide the soldier emblem on my belt, but there was nothing I could do about the eyes. The glowing blue eyes were a dead giveaway. Wear these? Aerith said, handing me a pair of welding goggles. I put them on. The world turned a murky brown. Perfect, I muttered. Now I look like a mechanic who got lost. And the sword? She asked, eyeing the massive blade leaning against the wall. I hesitated. The Buster sword was conspicuous. It was unique. But I couldn't leave it. It was Angeal's legacy. It was my lifeline. If I ran into trouble, real trouble, I needed steel, not a kitchen knife. I wrapped the blade in a dirty canvas tarp and tied it with rope. It looked like a bundle of scrap metal. Heavy, awkward scrap metal. I strapped it to my back. The weight was familiar, comforting. I am going to the sector market, I told Cloud. He was sitting up in bed, staring at a stain on the wall. He didn't blink. Be good, Spike, I said. Don't go saving the world while I am gone. I walked out into the slums. The smell hit me first. It was a mix of ozone, sewage, and frying grease. The noise was overwhelming. The Sector 5 slums were a hive of activity. People shouting, machines grinding, music blaring from tinny speakers. It was chaotic. It was dirty. And it was exactly what I needed. I kept my head down, navigating the crowded streets. Nobody looked at me twice. Down here, everyone was weird. Everyone was hiding something. I was just another tall guy carrying a heavy load. I made my way to the weapon shop. Usually, these places acted as hubs for mercenary work. If someone had a problem with a drake or a wayward house monster, they posted it here. The shop was a hole in the wall, literally. The proprietor was a gruff man with a mechanical arm, polishing a shotgun behind a counter made of oil drums. Help you? He grunted, not looking up. I need work, I said, keeping my voice low. Cleaning up monsters? Escort duty? Anything that pays? The man looked up. He squinted at my goggles, then at the massive bundle on my back. You got a license? No. You got a guild card? No. The man spat on the floor. Then you're out of luck, pal. Shinra cracked down on freelance work last week. Unless you are sanctioned, you don't get the contracts. Too many terrorists running around. My stomach sank. Shinra again. They were tightening the noose even down here. I turned to leave, frustration bubbling up in my chest. I had power. I had skill. But without a piece of plastic, I was useless. Hey, wait! A voice called out from the shadows of the shop. I stopped. A man stepped out. He was huge, not as tall as me, but wider. He had dark skin, a flat-top haircut, and a beard that looked like it was carved from granite. But the most striking thing about him was his right arm. It was a gun. A Gatling gun grafted directly onto his elbow. I tensed. I knew a weapon when I saw one. That wasn't standard issue. That was custom. That was illegal. I couldn't help but overhear, the man rumbled. His voice was deep, like stones grinding together. You looking for work? Yeah, I said cautiously, my hand drifting toward the hilt of the sword under the tarp. Who are you? Name is Barrett, the man said. And I might have a job for a guy who looks like he can handle himself. But it ain't cleaning up rats in the sewer. He stepped closer, towering over me. He smelled of gun oil and cheap cigars. You got a problem with blowing things up? He asked. I stared at him behind my goggles. Blowing things up. That sounded like terrorism. That sounded like exactly the kind of thing a loyal soldier would arrest him for. But I wasn't a loyal soldier anymore. I was a guy with a comatose best friend and 0 gil in his pocket. Depends on what we are blowing up, I said evenly. Barrett grinned. It wasn't a nice grin. It was the grin of a man who was about to start a fire. Reactors, he said. We are going to blow up a Mako reactor. My blood ran cold. A reactor, the heart of Shinra, the thing that was killing the planet. I thought about the green glow in Cloud's veins. I thought about the eyes of the troopers I killed on the cliff. I should have said no. I should have walked away. How much? I asked. Barrett laughed, a booming sound that shook the dust from the ceiling. Enough to feed that big sword of yours, Spiky. Meet me at the train station. Tonight. Don't be late. He walked out, the gun arm whirring softly. I stood there in the dusty shop, my heart pounding. I was about to agree to commit treason. I was about to become a terrorist. Angeal would be rolling in his grave. But then I thought of Cloud, lying on that cot, muttering for his mother. I thought of the medicine he needed. I adjusted the strap of the Buster sword. Sorry, Angeal, I whispered. But honor doesn't pay the rent. I walked back out into the smog. The rotting pizza loomed above me, blocking out the sun. It felt heavier than before. But this time, at least I had a direction. Even if that direction was straight down to hell, the train rattled over the tracks. A rhythmic clatter that usually lulled commuters to sleep. But tonight, nobody was sleeping. The car was empty except for us. 5 people. 5 shadows moving toward the heart of Sector 1. I leaned against the metal wall near the door, arms crossed over my chest. The Buster sword was still wrapped in the dirty canvas tarp, strapped to my back. I felt ridiculous. A knight in shining armor disguised as a junk hauler. I looked at the others. There was the big guy, Barrett. He was pacing back and forth, his gun arm twitching with nervous energy. He was muttering to himself, rehearsing some speech about the planet crying out in pain. Then there were the 3 tag-alongs. A heavy-set guy named Wedge who looked like he would rather be anywhere else. A skinny guy named Biggs who was polishing a pistol that looked like it would jam if he sneezed on it. And the girl, Jessie. She was checking a computer terminal, her fingers flying over the keys. They were amateurs. I could tell by the way they stood. No discipline, no situational awareness. If Shinra security caught them, they would be chewed up in seconds. And I was supposed to be their babysitter. 30 seconds to the station, Jessie called out. Her voice cracked slightly. She was scared. Barrett stopped pacing. He turned to me, his sunglasses reflecting the harsh, fluorescent lights of the train car. You ready, Merc? He growled. Or are you going to get cold feet when the shooting starts? I adjusted my goggles. I am ready, I said, my voice flat. Just tell me the exit strategy. You do have an exit strategy, right? Barrett snorted. We blow the reactor and we run. That is the strategy. I suppressed a sigh. Run. Great plan. Tactical genius. The train screeched to a halt. The doors hissed open. "Move out!" Barrett roared. We spilled out onto the platform. It was quiet. Too quiet. The station was on a lockdown cycle, meaning civilians were cleared out. That meant only one thing. Security patrols. 2 guards were standing by the turnstiles. Shinra infantry. Blue uniforms. Standard issue machine guns. I knew the type. Probably new recruits, fresh out of the academy, pulling the graveyard shift because they annoyed their sergeant. "Freeze!" one of them shouted, raising his rifle. Barrett didn't hesitate. He raised his arm. The Gatling gun spun up with a high-pitched whine. "No!" I shouted. I moved before I thought. I sprinted forward, a blur of motion. I didn't draw my sword. I didn't need it. I closed the distance in a heartbeat. The guard on the left panicked. He pulled the trigger. Bullets sparked against the metal floor, missing me by inches. I slid low, sweeping his legs out from under him. He hit the ground with a sickening thud. Before his partner could react, I was up. I drove a gloved fist into his solar plexus, knocking the wind out of him, then followed up with a sharp chop to the neck. He crumbled. Silence returned to the station. I stood over them, breathing steadily. They were unconscious, not dead, just out cold. I turned around. Barrett had his gun trained on me. "What the hell was that?" he yelled. "Why didn't you blast him?" "I don't kill grunts," I said, stepping over the bodies. "They're just doing a job. You want to blow up a reactor? Fine. But we aren't slaughtering kids who are just trying to pay off their student loans." Barrett glared at me, his jaw working. "You are soft, Spiky. Those uniforms, they are the enemy." "They are people," I shot back. "And if you want my help, we do it my way. No unnecessary casualties." I walked past him toward the reactor entrance. I could feel his eyes boring into my back. He didn't like me. Good. I didn't like him either. I wasn't here for the cause. I was here for the gill. I was here for the medicine that would stop Cloud from fading away. We pushed deeper into the facility. The architecture of the reactor was familiar. I had run simulations in places like this 100 times. The smell of processed mako was stronger here, a chemical sweetness that coated the back of my throat. It smelled like power. It smelled like sickness. Jesse took the lead, hacking the door locks. Biggs and Wedge stayed behind to guard the perimeter. That left me and Barrett to head for the core. As we descended the elevators, the air grew hotter. The hum of the generator became a roar. "Look at it!" Barrett shouted over the noise, gesturing to the massive pipes pumping green fluid around us, sucking the life right out of the planet, killing the land so they can keep the lights on in the upper plate. "Doesn't that make you sick?" I looked at the mako. I thought about the feeling of being dipped in it, the way it burned, the way it whispered in your mind. "Yeah," I said quietly. "It makes me sick." We reached the core. It was a massive chamber dominated by a glowing vat of concentrated energy. The heat was intense. Barrett pulled a bomb out of his pack. It looked homemade, crude, dangerous. "Plant it," he ordered. I took the bomb. It was heavy. I walked to the edge of the catwalk. I looked down into the mako. If I dropped this, the reaction would be catastrophic. It would cripple the power grid for the entire sector. Thousands of people would lose power. Hospitals, homes. But Shinra would pay attention. I set the timer. 10 minutes. "Let's go," I said. Just then, the alarm klaxons blared. Red lights began to strobe, bathing the chamber in a blood-colored wash. "Intruder alert," a computerized voice announced. "Countermeasures activated." The catwalk shook. Something massive dropped from the ceiling. landing with a metallic crash that rattled my teeth. It was a machine, a scorpion sentinel, a mechanical arachnid painted in Shinra red with a laser tail raised high. I swore under my breath. The guard scorpion. Standard perimeter defense, heavy armor, auto repair protocols, and a tail laser that could melt through steel. Barrett raised his gun. "Eat lead, you piece of junk!" He opened fire. The bullets pinged harmlessly off the machine's armor plating. The scorpion turned toward him, its electronic eye glowing menacingly. It raised its tail. The air crackled as the laser charged. "Barrett, don't shoot while the tail is up!" I screamed. Barrett paused. "What?" "It counters!" I yelled, ripping the canvas tarp off my back. The Buster sword gleamed in the red light, massive and imposing. "If you shoot it while the tail is up, it fires the laser. Wait for it to lower." "How do you know that?" Barrett demanded. I didn't answer. I didn't have time to explain that I had read the technical manual for this unit 3 years ago. The scorpion locked onto me. It sensed the threat. It sensed the soldier. I charged. The machine fired a volley of missiles. I didn't dodge. I swung. The Buster sword cut through the air, a wall of steel. I batted the missiles aside, the explosions blooming harmlessly to my left and right. I closed the distance. I jumped, putting all my weight behind the strike. The blade bit into the scorpion's front leg. Metal screeched against metal. Sparks showered down like fireworks. The machine buckled. "Now, Barrett," I yelled, "aim for the sensors." Barrett didn't argue. He unleashed a hail of gunfire, targeting the cluster of eyes on the machine's head. The glass shattered. The machine flailed, blinded. I spun the sword, reversing my grip. I drove the blade down into the chassis, right between the armor plates. I felt the resistance, and then the give as the hydraulics severed. The machine shuddered and collapsed, smoke pouring from its joints. I yanked the sword free. I was breathing hard, the adrenaline singing in my veins. It felt good. God help me. It felt good to fight again, to be doing what I was made to do. Barrett stared at me. He looked at the wreckage of the machine, then at the massive sword in my hand. "Who are you?" he asked, his voice low. "Just who the hell are you, Merc?" "I am the guy who just saved your life," I said, rewrapping the sword with the tattered tarp. "Now move. That bomb isn't going to wait for us." The escape was a blur. We sprinted back up the ramps, legs burning. The timer ticked down in my head. 5 minutes, 4 minutes. We met up with Jessie at the elevator. She looked pale. "Did you do it?" she asked. "Done," Barrett grunted. "Move!" We scrambled out of the reactor just as the timer hit 0. We were on the upper walkways, halfway to the train station, when the ground heaved. Boom. The sound was deafening. A shock wave of hot air blasted out of the reactor entrance, knocking us off our feet. I rolled, covering my head. I looked back. The reactor was gone. A pillar of fire and smoke rose into the sky, piercing the metal plate above. Debris rained down on the sector below. I saw pieces of the structure crashing into the slums. I stood up, dusting the ash off my clothes. I looked at the destruction. I had done that. I had helped pull the trigger. Barrett was cheering. He was pumping his fist in the air. "Yeah, you hear that, planet? That is the sound of freedom." I didn't feel like cheering. I felt sick. I looked down at my hands. They were shaking, not from fear, from anger. I walked over to the edge of the platform and looked down into the burning wreckage. Somewhere down there, technicians were scrambling. Emergency crews were rushing in. People were hurt. For Jill, I whispered to myself. I did this for Jill. I thought of Cloud, lying in that bed, his skin pale and clammy. I thought of the medicine. I turned away from the fire. Let's get paid, I said to Barrett. Barrett looked at me. The celebration faded from his face. He nodded slowly. Yeah, he said. Let's go. We disappeared into the shadows of the city, leaving the fire to burn. The first blow had been struck. The war had begun. And I was on the wrong side of the line. The money from the first job bought us time. It bought high-grade potions, sterile bandages, and a pulse monitor that I stole from a supply crate near the Wall Market pharmacy. But time is a greedy thing. It eats resources faster than you can gather them. 3 days after the Sector 1 bombing, the money was gone, and Cloud was still fading. I sat by his bed in Elmira's attic, watching the monitor beep. The rhythm was erratic. His brow was slick with sweat, his lips moving in silent prayer or panic, I couldn't tell which. The Mako poisoning wasn't clearing up. It was settling in, binding to his nervous system like a parasite. I needed more Gil. When the call came from Barrett, I didn't hesitate. I didn't argue about politics. I didn't ask about the morality of blowing up another power plant. I just asked where and when. Sector 5, he had said. The big one. Now I stood on the platform of the Sector 5 reactor, looking down into the abyss of green light. The air here tasted metallic, charged with static electricity that made the hair on my arms stand up. It felt like standing inside a thunderstorm that had been bottled and pressurized. Barrett was ahead of me, shouting orders to Jesse and Biggs. He was high on the success of the first mission. He thought we were invincible. He thought we were heroes. I adjusted the welding goggles over my eyes. I wasn't a hero. I was a ghost, and I wasn't alone. There was a woman with us this time. Tifa Lockhart. When I first saw her at the hideout, my heart had nearly stopped. I recognized her instantly. The cowgirl outfit, the long black hair, the fierce determination in her red eyes. She was the guide, the girl from Nibelheim, the one who had walked us up the mountain, the one I had found bleeding on the reactor floor next to her father. She had survived. Just like us. I had kept my distance. I pulled my collar up, kept the goggles on, and deepened my voice. I was terrified she would recognize me. If she knew who I was, she would ask about Cloud. She would ask about the town. She would ask why her home was a pile of ash. And I didn't have the strength to tell her the truth. Not yet. So I played the role. The nameless mercenary, the sword for hire. Hey, Merc, Barrett yelled, snapping me out of my thoughts. Quit daydreaming and plant the charge. I walked toward the core. The Buster's sword felt heavy on my back, a constant reminder of the lie I was living. I reached the central vents. The heat was intense here. I knelt down, prepping the explosive device Barrett had handed me. My hands moved on autopilot wire to wire, fuse to fuse. Soldier demolition training. Then the sound dropped out. It wasn't a gradual fade. It was instantaneous. The roar of the reactor, Barrett's shouting, the hum of the machinery, it all vanished. The world turned gray. The green glow of the Mako shifted, darkening into a sickly, swirling purple. I froze. My breath caught in my throat. I knew this feeling. I had felt it in the basement of the Shinra mansion. I had felt it in the flames of Nibelheim. Zack. The voice was a whisper, sliding into my ear like cold oil. It wasn't distinct. It wasn't coming from the room. It was coming from inside my head. I stood up, spinning around. He was there, standing on the catwalk above me. The long black leather coat, the silver pauldrons, the hair that flowed like liquid mercury. He had his back to me, looking up at the machinery. Sephiroth. My hand flew to the hilt of my sword. "You are dead," I snarled. My voice sounded hollow, echoing in the void. "I killed you. I watched you fall." The figure turned slowly. His face was pale, his eyes that piercing, cat-like green. But he wasn't looking at me. He was looking through me. He was looking at something far away. The reunion, the hallucination whispered. "They are calling, Zack. Can you hear them? The little pieces of Mother. They are crying. Get out of my head," I shouted, drawing the Buster sword. The metal rang out, but there was no sound. I swung. I put everything I had into the strike. I wanted to cleave the ghost in two. I wanted to silence the voice that had haunted my nightmares for 4 years. The blade passed right through him. He dissolved like smoke, swirling away into the vents. The sound rushed back in a deafening crash. The alarms were blaring. The red lights were strobing. "Merc! What the hell are you doing?" I blinked, stumbling back. Barrett was staring at me, eyes wide. Tifa was looking at me with a mixture of confusion and fear. I was standing in the middle of the walkway, swinging a massive sword at thin air. I lowered the sword, my chest heaving. Nothing. Just thought I saw a security drone. Barrett looked skeptical, but the alarms were getting louder. "Bomb is set! Let's move!" he roared. We ran. We sprinted back up the superstructure, retracing our steps. But the image of Sephiroth burned in my mind. It wasn't just stress. It wasn't just PTSD. It was the cells. The Genova cells inside me were resonating with the reactor. If I was seeing him, what was Cloud seeing? The thought hit me like a physical blow. Cloud was back at the house, defenseless. If the connection was strong enough to make me hallucinate, it might be strong enough to kill him. "I have to go," I muttered. We burst out of the reactor entrance onto the upper plate scaffolding. Below us, the slums stretched out like a dark ocean. President Shinra was there. He was standing on a platform, flanked by a massive robotic war machine, the Airbuster. He was monologuing, saying something about pests and fire. I didn't hear him. I didn't care. I looked at the robot. I looked at the exit. I didn't wait for the speech to end. "Cover me!" I yelled to Barrett. I launched myself at the Airbuster. I didn't fight defensively this time. I fought with desperation. I hacked at the joints, ignoring the missiles, ignoring the machine gun fire. I needed to end this. I needed to get back to Sector 5. The machine exploded in a shower of sparks and oil. The impact shook the platform. The railing gave way. I lost my footing. "Cloud!" I screamed, not even knowing why. I fell. The wind roared in my ears as I plummeted from the upper plate. The ground was rushing up to meet me. I twisted in the air, trying to orient myself. Usually, a fall from this height would kill a man. But I wasn't just a man. I was a weapon. I aimed for the church. I aimed for the flowers. I crashed through the roof of the church again. The wood splintered. I hit the flower bed with a bone-jarring thud. The lilies cushioned the blow, but it still knocked the wind out of me. I lay there for a second, staring up at the hole in the roof. I was alive. Again. I rolled over, spitting out petals. I didn't have time to rest. I scrambled to my feet, ignoring the bruises, ignoring the screaming muscles. I ran out of the church. I ran through the slums. I ran until my lungs burned and my vision blurred. I burst into Elmira's house. The living room was empty. Elmira was gone. Panic, cold and sharp, seized my heart. "Cloud?" I yelled. A crash from the attic, the sound of glass breaking. I took the stairs 2 at a time. I kicked the door open. The room was a wreck. The chair was overturned. The basin of water had been thrown against the wall. And in the center of the room, huddled in the corner, was Cloud. He was awake. He was curled into a ball, his hands gripping his hair, pulling at the blonde spikes. He was shaking violently. He was wearing the plain t-shirt I had dressed him in, but in his mind, he wasn't here. "Get down!" he screamed. His voice was raw, terrifying. "Incoming! Mortar fire! Get down! Cloud!" I rushed to him. He lashed out. He swung a fist blindly, catching me in the jaw. It wasn't a weak punch. It had weight behind it. The infantry training was kicking in. "Sir, they are everywhere. The trees are burning." He was hallucinating. He was back in Nibelheim, or maybe back in the war with Wutai. I grabbed his wrists, pinning them to his chest. "Cloud, look at me. It is me. It is Zack." He stopped struggling. He looked up at me. His eyes were wide, the pupils blown, the mako glowing with terrifying intensity. "Zack?" he whispered. Yeah, buddy. It is me." He stared at me for a long heartbeat. Then his face crumpled. Tears welled up in his eyes. "You are dead," he sobbed. "I saw you die. The rain, so much rain." "No," I said firmly, pulling him into a hug. I held him tight, rocking him like a child. "I am not dead. I am right here. We made it, Cloud." We walked away. He clung to me, his fingers digging into my back. He sobbed into my shirt, great heaving cries that shook his entire body. "I didn't save her," he gasped between sobs. "I couldn't save her. Mom." I closed my eyes, resting my chin on his head. "I know," I whispered. "I know." I looked out the window. In the distance, a pillar of smoke was rising from Sector 5. The second reactor was gone. The city was in chaos. But here, in this attic, the real battle was just starting. Cloud was awake. But the boy who woke up wasn't the friend I remembered. He was a shattered mirror, reflecting 1,000 jagged memories of pain. And I was the only one who could put him back together. "We are okay," I lied to him. "We are going to be okay." But as I held him, listening to the sirens wailing in the distance, I knew it wasn't true. The ghosts weren't just in the reactor. They were in this room, and they weren't leaving anytime soon. The note was simple. It was pinned to the table with a kitchen knife. "If you want her back, bring the specimen. 66th floor." I stared at the paper. The handwriting was elegant, precise. I knew it. I had seen it on mission reports and expense forms for years. Seng, the leader of the Turks. I crumpled the note in my fist. They had Aerith. While I was out playing revolutionary with Barrett, while I was falling from the plate, the Turks had walked right into the house and taken her. And it was my fault. I had led them there. My existence was the beacon. I looked around the room. Tifa was checking her gloves, her face set in a mask of grim determination. Barrett was reloading his gun arm, muttering curses under his breath. And Cloud was sitting on the edge of the cot. He was wearing a mishmash of gear infantry boots, cargo pants, and a simple iron sword we had bought from the weapon shop. He wasn't strong enough for the Buster sword. Not yet. He looked pale, shaking slightly, but his eyes were focused. The panic attack had passed, replaced by a cold, robotic obedience. "You sure about this, Spiky?" Barrett asked, looking at Cloud. The kid looks like he's gonna tip over if a wind blows too hard. He comes with us, I said, my voice hard. I'm not leaving him alone again. If Shinra wants a reunion, they are going to get one. I grabbed the Buster sword, strapping it to my back. I didn't wrap it in the tarp this time. I didn't hide my face. The goggles stayed on the table. If I was walking back into the lion's den, I was walking in as myself. We are not taking the stairs, I told them. Tifa blinked. We aren't? No. I know the shift rotation. I know the security blind spots. We are taking the front door. We took the train up to the central hub. The Shinra building pierced the sky, a monolith of steel and glass that dominated the city. It stood as a testament to arrogance. I used to look up at this building with pride. I used to dream of having an office on the 49th floor. Now, I just wanted to burn it down. We hit the lobby at 1900 hours, shift change. The floor was swarming with salarymen in gray suits, hurrying to catch the trains home. Security was lax because nobody was stupid enough to attack Shinra HQ through the lobby. Nobody except us. Act natural, I whispered. We walked in. Barrett stood out like a sore thumb, but Tifa and I flanked him, moving with purpose. We didn't look like intruders. We looked like contractors. I marched straight to the reception desk, flashing a security card I had kept in my boot for 4 years. It was deactivated, of course, but the receptionist didn't know that. She just saw the soldier insignia. She hesitated. Sir, I need to scan Class 1 priority. I barked, channeling every ounce of authority I had left. Urgent delivery for Professor Hojo. Do you want to be the one to tell him his samples are late? She paled. Hojo's reputation was a terrifying thing. No, sir. Go ahead. She buzzed the gate. We were in. We took the elevator. The silence as we ascended was suffocating. The numbers ticked up. 10, 20, 30. You are good at this, Tifa said, watching me. I used to work here, I said shortly. You were soldier, Barrett grunted. I thought you guys were just muscle. We were whatever they needed us to be, I replied, watching the floor numbers. Muscle, spies, heroes, monsters. The elevator dinged at the 59th floor. This is it, I said. From here on up, it is high security. No more talking. We fight. We stepped out into the hallway. 3 guards were patrolling. They froze when they saw us. Intrude, I didn't let them finish. I moved. The flat of my blade caught the first guard in the chest, sending him flying into the wall. Tifa took the second, a flurry of strikes that dropped him before he could raise his rifle. Barrett pistol whipped the third. 6 seconds. We moved up. 60th floor, 61st. We fought our way through the administration levels. It wasn't a battle. It was a rhythm. I knew these corridors. I knew where the cameras were. I directed the team like a conductor. Cloud stayed close to me. He fought with a desperate, jerky style. He wasn't using soldier techniques. He was hacking and slashing like a cornered animal. Every time he swung that iron sword, I flinched, waiting for him to collapse. But he kept going. He was running on pure adrenaline and trauma. We reached the 66th floor, the conference level. I held up a hand. Wait here. I walked toward the main meeting room. The door was slightly ajar. I could hear voices. The promised land. Neo Midgar. I kicked the door open. The room fell silent. The Shinra executives were sitting around the long oval table. Palmer, Reeve, Scarlet, Heidegger, and at the head of the table, President Shinra. They stared at me. President Shinra didn't look scared. He looked annoyed. He took a puff of his cigar, the smoke curling up toward the ceiling. "Well," he said, his voice like gravel, "the dead man walks. I must say Hojo will be pleased. He was quite upset when he lost his favorite specimen." "Where is she?" I demanded, stepping into the room. The Buster sword scraped against the expensive marble floor. "The ancient!" Shinra waved a hand dismissively. "She is where she belongs, in the lab, providing us with the future." I took a step forward. Heidegger stood up, reaching for his sidearm. "I wouldn't," I warned, locking eyes with the head of public safety. "Unless you want to see if you are faster than a first class." Heidegger hesitated. He sat back down. "Zack!" The voice came from the shadows in the corner of the room. A man stepped out. He wore a dark blue suit. His long black hair was tied back in a ponytail. He had a small mole beneath his eye. Seng. I turned to face him. My grip on the sword tightened. "Hello, Seng," I said. "You should have stayed dead, Zack," he said calmly. His face was unreadable, but I saw the tension in his shoulders. "We gave you a chance. We stopped looking. Why did you come back?" "For her," I said. "And for the other one you are hunting." Seng sighed. He looked genuinely sad. It was a professional sadness, the kind a butcher feels for a lamb he has to slaughter. "I can't let you leave, Zack. It is against protocol." "Then rewrite the protocol," I snapped. I didn't wait. I charged. Seng was fast. He was a Turk. He moved like water. He sidestepped my overhead swing, drawing a handgun from his jacket. He fired 2 shots. I deflected them with the flat of the blade, the bullets sparking off the steel. I spun, lashing out with a kick. He blocked it, sliding back across the polished floor. "Give it up!" I yelled. "I don't want to kill you, Seng." "It is not about what you want," he replied, reloading in a blur of motion. "It is about the job." We clashed, steel against composite armor. It was a dance we had practiced in the training room a dozen times. But this wasn't sparring. He was aiming for the kill. Suddenly, the glass wall behind the president shattered. Barrett roared, jumping into the room, his gun arm blazing. Tifa followed, a whirlwind of martial arts. The executives scrambled. Panic erupted. Seng looked at the chaos. He looked at me. He holstered his gun. "Go," he whispered. I blinked. "What?" "Hojo's lab, 67th floor. Go before I change my mind." "Why?" I asked. He adjusted his tie. "Because I never sent those letters, Zack. Consider this my resignation from being your mailman." I stared at him for a second. Then I nodded. "Thanks," I said. I grabbed Cloud, who was standing in the doorway, staring blankly at the president. "Come on!" We sprinted out of the room, leaving the Turks and the executives to deal with Barrett and Tifa. We hit the stairs. Up one flight. Floor 67, the science department. The air here was different. It was colder. It smelled of antiseptic and ozone. The lighting was dim, casting long, creepy shadows. We ran past rows of cages containing twisted beasts, failed experiments, the things Hojo made when he was bored. We reached the main containment area, and then I saw it. In the center of the room, suspended in a massive glass tank filled with green fluid, was a creature, or what was left of one. It had no head. Its body was a mass of purple muscle and alien geometry. A plaque on the tank read, Genova, Genova. I froze. The dread washed over me like ice water. The calamity from the skies. The source of it all. The thing that Sephiroth called Mother. Beside me, Cloud made a sound. It was a high, thin whine like a dog in pain. He fell to his knees, clutching his head. "Mother," he gasped. "Mother is here." "Cloud, don't look at it," I yelled, grabbing his arm. But he couldn't look away. He was staring at the tank, his eyes glowing with a terrifying intensity. The cells inside him were resonating with the cells in the tank. They were singing to each other. "The reunion!" a voice cackled. I spun around. Professor Hojo was standing on the observation deck above us. He wore his lab coat, his glasses gleaming in the low light. He was smiling, a sick, twisted smile. "Fascinating!" he shouted. I theorized it, but to see it in person, the draw is undeniable. Even a failure like him feels the pull. "Hojo!" I roared. "Where is Aerith? Oh, the Ancient! She is in the containment pod. But forget her, Zack! Look at your friend! Look at the data!" He tapped a console. A holographic screen flickered to life in front of me. It was a chart, a biological trajectory. Subject C, Hojo lectured. No tolerance for soldier treatment. Mental fragmentation. But look at the migration pattern. The cells are trying to reunite. He isn't a person anymore, Zack. He is a homing pigeon, and he is leading you straight to Sephiroth. I stared at the screen. The truth hit me. The black cloaks, the mutterings, the headaches. It wasn't just sickness. Cloud was being summoned. "You are wrong," I said, my voice shaking. "He is human." "Is he?" Hojo laughed. "Or is he just a puppet acting out a memory?" I didn't let him finish. I raised the Buster Sword. "I am coming up there, Hojo, and I am going to introduce you to the concept of gravity." I ran toward the stairs leading to the deck, but a glass wall slammed down, sealing off the upper level. "Pity," Hojo sneered. "I would love to chat, but I have to pack. The reunion is beginning, and I don't want to miss the main event." He pressed a button. The containment pod in the corner hissed open. Aerith stumbled out. She looked weak, holding her arm. "Zack!" she cried out. "Aerith!" I ran to her. I scooped her up, checking her for injuries. "Are you okay? Did he hurt you?" "I am fine," she said, breathless. "But we have to leave. That thing in the tank. It is waking up." I looked back at the Genova tank. The fluid was bubbling. The body inside was twitching. The headless torso slammed against the glass. Thump. Cloud screamed. He arched his back, his jaw locked open in a silent cry of agony. "Cloud!" Tifa yelled, running into the room with Barrett close behind. "Grab him!" I ordered. "We are leaving! Now!" Barrett hoisted Cloud over his shoulder like a sack of flour. Tifa supported Aerith. I took point. We ran for the elevators. The building was shaking now. Alarms were wailing on every frequency. "Subject escaped. Repeat, subject escaped." We piled into the elevator. I smashed the button for the lobby. As the doors closed, I saw the Genova tank crack. A single purple tentacle slithered out through the glass. I leaned back against the wall, my heart hammering against my ribs. We had Aerith. We were alive. But Hojo's words echoed in my mind. He isn't a person anymore. He is a homing pigeon. I looked at Cloud, who was passed out on Barrett's shoulder. "I'm going to save you," I whispered, gripping the handle of the Buster Sword until my knuckles turned white. "Even if I have to kill destiny itself." The elevator plummeted toward the ground floor. The escape was just beginning, and the shadow of Sephiroth was longer than I ever imagined. The fire in the hearth of the calm inn crackled, spitting sparks against the iron grate. It was a warm sound, a domestic sound. It should have been comforting, but to me it sounded like the burning of Nibelheim. We were sitting in a circle on the floor of the private room on the second floor. The escape from Midgar had been a blur of motorcycle engines, explosions, and the terrified screams of Shinra troopers. But we had made it. We were out. The great steel city was a glowing smudge on the horizon behind us. Now, we had to deal with the silence. Barrett was cleaning his gun arm, the oil rag black with soot. Aerith was sitting near the window, looking out at the dark plains, her hands clasped in her lap. Cloud was asleep on the bed, finally resting after the ordeal in the lab. He was still pale, but his breathing was steady. Tifa sat across from me. She hadn't taken her eyes off me since we checked in. Her gaze was intense, searching. She was putting the pieces together, and I could see the moment the picture started to form. 5 years ago, she said. Her voice was quiet, but it cut through the room like a knife. You were there. I nodded, staring into the fire. Yeah, I was. You were the soldier, she continued, her voice trembling slightly. The one with the dark hair. You checked on me after I fell. I looked up at her. The memory was vivid. The reactor, the heat, the sight of her lying at the bottom of the stairs, cut down by Sephiroth's blade. I thought you were dead, Tifa, I said softly. I am sorry. I should have been faster. She shook her head, dismissing the apology. But where was Cloud? Barrett stopped cleaning his gun. He looked up, sensing the shift in the atmosphere. Yeah, Spiky talks about that day like he was running the show. Said he was first class. Said he came back to save the town. I sighed, leaning back against the wooden wall. The wood felt rough against my spine. He wasn't first class, I said, and he wasn't running the show. Tifa frowned, but he said, he promised. He was there, Tifa, I interrupted, but he wasn't wearing a soldier uniform. He was wearing a helmet. The room went deadly silent. He was a trooper? Barrett asked, incredulous. The kid was a grunt? I looked at the sleeping figure on the bed. He didn't want you to know, I told Tifa. He was ashamed. He left the village promising to become a hero like Sephiroth. He promised he would come back in the uniform with the sword and the glory. But he didn't make the cut for soldier. He washed out. He was just a regular infantryman. I saw the realization hit Tifa. Her hand went to her mouth. That is why he never took his helmet off. I asked him if he was okay, and he just nodded. That was him, I said. He was hiding. He couldn't bear the thought of you seeing him like that. Just another face in the crowd. Tifa's eyes welled up. He was right there. All that time. But that is not the end of the story, I said, my voice hardening. You need to hear the rest. You need to know what he did. I took a deep breath. I told them everything. I told them about the mission, the investigation of the reactor, the discovery of the pods, the monsters that used to be human. I told them about Sephiroth snapping, the way he locked himself in the mansion basement for days, reading the files, losing his mind. The way he burned the village to the ground just to see the flames. I told them about the reactor. I went in first, I said, my hands clenching into fists. I found Tifa, then I found him, Sephiroth. He was at the pods. He was talking to her. Genova? Aerith asked softly. Yeah, his mother. Or so he thought. I tried to stop him. I fought him. I had the Buster Sword. I had the training. I was at the peak of my career. I paused, looking at my hands, and he swatted me aside like a fly. Barrett grunted. He beat you? He broke me, I corrected. He tossed me out of the room. I couldn't stand. I couldn't lift my sword. I was done. I was lying there, bleeding out, watching him walk toward the central bridge to free Genova. I thought it was over. I thought the world was ending right there. I looked at Cloud again, and then the grunt walked in. I leaned forward, making sure they heard every word. Cloud didn't have Mako enhancements. He didn't have training. He had a standard issue rifle and a broken heart. He saw his town burning. He saw Tifa bleeding on the floor. He saw me defeated, and he didn't run. He picked up my sword, I whispered. He picked up the Buster sword. He couldn't even lift it properly. He dragged it. He ran at Sephiroth, and he ran him through. Tifa gasped. Cloud did that? Sephiroth didn't believe it either, I said. A nobody, a failure, killing a god. But Sephiroth, he is hard to kill. He survived the stab wound. He started walking out with Genova's head. I was conscious, barely. I saw Cloud go after him again. I closed my eyes. This was the part that still didn't make sense. The part that defied physics. Sephiroth impaled him, I said quietly. Ran the Masamune right through Cloud's chest. Lifted him up into the air. Cloud should have died instantly, but he didn't. I opened my eyes and looked at the fire. He grabbed the blade, I said. He grabbed the sword that was sticking through his own chest. He lifted himself up. He used the leverage to throw Sephiroth, the greatest warrior the world has ever known, into the Mako pit. Silence. Absolute silence. Only the wind howling outside. Barrett stared at Cloud, his mouth slightly open. The skinny guy? That skinny guy threw Sephiroth into a reactor? Yeah, I said. He did what I couldn't do. He saved us. So why? Why is he like this? Aerith asked, gesturing to the bed. Why doesn't he remember? Because of what came next, I said grimly. Shinra found us. Hojo found us. He didn't see heroes. He saw specimens. He took us to the mansion basement. He put us in tanks. For 4 years, he injected us with S-cells, Sephiroth cells. I tapped my chest. My body fought it. I was already soldier. I had tolerance. But Cloud was pure. The cells shattered his mind. He doesn't know who he is anymore. He took my stories, my memories, and mixed them with his own because the truth was too painful. He thinks he was the soldier because he wanted to be strong enough to save you. I looked at Tifa. He wanted to be your hero, Tifa. That is the only thing his broken mind held on to. Tifa stood up. She walked over to the bed. She sat down gently beside Cloud. She reached out and brushed a strand of blonde hair away from his forehead. Her hand was trembling. You were, she whispered to the sleeping boy. You were my hero. You just didn't tell me. She looked back at me. Her eyes were wet, but there was a new strength in them. Thank you, Zack, for telling the truth. I stood up, stretching my stiff legs. Truth is heavy, I said, but it is the only thing we have left. I walked to the window and looked out at the night. The moon was full, illuminating the grasslands. We can't stay here, I said. Sephiroth is back. I don't know how, but he is out there, and he is going to the Promised Land. If we want to stop him, we have to move. And Cloud? Barrett asked. Can he fight? I turned back to the room. He fought a god when he was a grunt, I said. Imagine what he can do now. We just have to help him wake up. I looked at the party. A bartender, an eco-terrorist, a flower girl, a broken soldier, and me, a dead man walking. We were a mess, but we were the only hope the planet had. Get some sleep, I told them. We leave at dawn. We are going to Junon. If Sephiroth is crossing the ocean, we need a ship, and I know just the guy to steal one from. The jungle was exactly as I remembered it. Hot, loud, alive. Most people hated Gongaga. They hated the humidity that made your clothes stick to your skin within seconds. They hated the bugs that were the size of your hand. They hated the smell of the ruined Mako reactor that loomed over the village like a rotting metal tombstone. But to me it smelled like childhood. We trudged through the undergrowth, the wet ferns brushing against our legs. I was in the lead, hacking away the vines with the buster sword. Every step was heavy. Every step brought me closer to a door I wasn't sure I had the courage to open. "Zack?" Aerith asked from behind me. "You are walking fast." I slowed down. Sorry, just muscle memory. I could walk this path blindfolded. We broke through the tree line and there it was, the village. It wasn't much. A cluster of wooden houses built on stilts to keep them out of the mud. A few shops, a memorial for the explosion victims. It looked smaller than I remembered. Or maybe I had just gotten bigger. I stopped at the edge of the clearing. My heart was hammering against my ribs, harder than it ever did in combat. "Do they know?" Tifa asked, stepping up beside me. "About everything?" "No," I said, my voice tight. "The last letter I wrote was 4 years ago, before Nibelheim, before the experiments. As far as they know, I am still soldier first class. Or I am dead. Probably dead." I looked at Cloud. He was staring at the ruined reactor in the distance. The sight of it seemed to unsettle him. He was rubbing his temples, a frown etched into his face. The connection to the Mako was strong here. The air was thick with leaking energy. "Stay close to me," I told him. "If you feel weird, tell me." We walked into the village. It was quiet. Midday heat kept most people indoors. A few farmers looked up as we passed, eyeing the massive sword on my back. I pulled my collar up. I didn't want to be recognized. Not yet. I led them to a house at the far end of the village. It had a small garden. The fence was painted white, but the paint was peeling. I stood at the gate. My hand hovered over the latch. "You go," Aerith whispered, giving me a gentle push. "We will wait here." I nodded. I unhooked the buster sword and leaned it against the fence. I didn't want to walk in armed. I wanted to walk in as their son. I walked up the path. The wooden steps creaked. That third step always creaked. My dad kept promising to fix it. He never did. I knocked. Silence. Then the sound of footsteps. The door opened. A woman stood there. She looked older, more gray in her hair. Her face was lined with worry that hadn't been there when I left. She wore a simple apron. "Can I help you?" she asked politely. My throat closed up. I tried to speak, but nothing came out. I just stood there, a giant man in dirty clothes trembling like a leaf. "Mom?" I choked out. Her eyes went wide. She dropped the dish towel she was holding. She took a step back, her hand flying to her mouth. "Zack?" she whispered. "Yeah, it is me." She screamed. It wasn't a scream of fear. It was a scream of pure, unfiltered release. She threw herself at me, burying her face in my chest. I wrapped my arms around her, lifting her off the ground. She felt so small, so fragile. My dad came running from the back room. He saw us. He didn't say a word. He just joined the hug, grabbing my shoulders, his grip like iron. We stood there in the doorway for a long time, just holding on. No words, just tears and the feeling of home. They pulled me inside. They sat me down at the kitchen table, the same table where I used to do my homework. The same table where I wrote my application to soldier. They put food in front of me. They touched my face, my arms, as if checking to make sure I was real. We heard rumors, my dad said, his voice thick with emotion. They said you were killed in action. Nibelheim. They said you were a hero. I flinched. A hero. That word again. I am not a hero, Dad, I said quietly. And I am not with Shinra anymore. I told them a sanitized version. I told them I left. I told them I was on the run. I didn't tell them about the tank. I didn't tell them about the experiments. I didn't want them to know what their son had become. Who are your friends? Mom asked, looking out the window at the group waiting by the gate. That is Aerith, I said, smiling. The girl I wrote to you about. Mom gasped. The girlfriend? The flower girl? I laughed. Yeah, that is her. I went to the door and waved them in. The next hour was surreal. Aerith charmed my parents instantly. Tifa helped Mom with the tea. Barrett sat awkwardly in the corner, trying not to break the furniture with his bulk. Cloud sat next to me, silent, eating the stew my mom placed in front of him with mechanical precision. It was perfect. It was normal. And that is why it felt like a trap. The feeling started at the base of my neck. A prickle, a sense of being watched. I looked out the window. The jungle edge was still. Too still. The birds had stopped singing. I stood up. Zack? Aerith asked. Get down, I said, my voice low and dangerous. Before anyone could ask why, the front door exploded inward. A flash grenade. White light blinded me. A deafening bang rang in my ears. I stumbled back, knocking the table over. Zack! My dad yelled. I blinked, trying to clear the spots from my vision. Shadows were moving in the room, fast, efficient, red suits, Turks. I reached for my sword, but it was outside. I was unarmed. A figure lunged at me. I blocked a punch, grabbing a wrist. I twisted, throwing the attacker across the room. Don't move! A voice commanded. I froze. Through the clearing smoke, I saw her. She was standing in the center of the room. She held a large shuriken, its blades gleaming. Her red hair was tied back. Her eyes were sharp, professional, but there was something else in them. Regret. Sisney. She had my mom. Her weapon was raised, not at me, but hovering dangerously close to my mother's neck. Hello, Zack, Sisney said. Her voice was steady, but her knuckles were white on the weapon. Let her go, I growled, stepping forward. Stay back, she warned. I have orders. Target acquisition. Minimal casualties preferred, but collateral damage is authorized if resistance is met. I looked around. 2 other Turks, grunts I didn't recognize, had guns trained on Barrett and Tifa. Cloud was in the corner, eyes wide, breathing fast. You wouldn't hurt her, I said, locking eyes with Sisney. You are not like them. We ate dinner together, Sisney. We were friends. That was a long time ago, she said, before you became a traitor, before you stole the specimen. She looked at Cloud. Hand him over, Zack. And your parents live. We walk away. You can go back to being dead. I looked at my parents. They were terrified. My dad was bleeding from a cut on his forehead. My mom was trembling in Sisney's grip. I had brought this here. I had brought the war to their doorstep. I faltered. I didn't have a weapon. I couldn't reach them in time. If I moved, they would shoot. I looked at Cloud. He was the target. If I gave him up, no, I couldn't. But I couldn't let my parents die either. I am sorry, I whispered to Sisney. I tensed my muscles, preparing to rush her. I knew I wouldn't make it. I knew I was going to watch my mother bleed. Suddenly, a blur of motion. It wasn't me. It was Cloud. He didn't scream. He didn't hesitate. He picked up a wooden chair and hurled it. It wasn't a clumsy throw. It was precise. The chair smashed into the Turk, holding Barrett at gunpoint. In the confusion, Cloud lunged. He didn't go for a weapon. He went for Cisne. He tackled her. It was a raw, desperate tackle. They crashed into the wall. Cisne lost her grip on my mother. "Mom, run!" I roared. I didn't waste the opening Cloud gave me. I grabbed the table leg, a solid piece of oak, and swung it. I caught the second Turk in the ribs. Crunch. He went down. Cisne kicked Cloud off her. She flipped backward, landing in a crouch. She raised her shuriken. Cloud scrambled up. He stood between Cisne and my parents. He didn't have a sword. He held his fists up, his stance shaky but defiant. "Get away from them!" Cloud yelled. His voice wasn't the weak, wavering thing it had been for weeks. It was a command. Cisne looked at him. Then she looked at me. Then she looked at the open door where my parents were cowering. She lowered her weapon. "Go," she said. I blinked. "What?" "Reinforcements are 2 minutes out," she said rapidly. "Reno and Rude are coming. They won't be as polite as me. Get out, Zack. Now." She wasn't here to kill us. She was here to warn us. The hostage situation. It was a show. A delay tactic to make the other Turks think she was engaging. "Why?" I asked. She looked at me, a sad smile touching her lips. "Because you owe me a dinner," she said. "And because—" I never liked Hojo's methods. She threw a smoke bomb at her own feet. "Go!" I grabbed Cloud. I grabbed my parents and shoved them toward the back door. "We have to leave," I told my dad. "We can't stay." My dad grabbed my arm. "Go, son. We will be fine. We will hide in the cellar until they leave. Just go." I looked at them one last time. I wanted to stay. I wanted to fix the step. I wanted to finish the stew. "I love you," I said. "I love you too, Zack," Mom sobbed. "Run." We ran. We burst out the back door, sprinting into the jungle. I grabbed the Buster sword from the fence as we passed. We didn't stop. We tore through the vines, heading away from the village. Away from the life I could never have. Behind us, I heard the roar of an approaching helicopter. The Turks were here. We ran until my lungs burned. We reached a ridge overlooking the jungle. We stopped to catch our breath. I looked back. I couldn't see the house. I could only see the green canopy and the smoke from the reactor. I sank to my knees. I punched the ground. Dirt and rocks flew. "Damn it!" I screamed. "Damn it all!" I felt a hand on my shoulder. I looked up. It was Cloud. He wasn't shaking. He was looking at me with clear blue eyes. "We saved them," he said. I looked at him. For the first time since the cliff, I didn't see a patient. I saw a partner. "Yeah," I said, wiping my eyes. "You saved them, Cloud. Nice tackle." He looked at his hands. I couldn't watch it happen again. Not another family. I stood up. I looked at the path ahead. It led toward the coast, toward the ocean, toward the future. My past was gone. Gongaga wasn't my home anymore. My home was right here with this ragtag group of misfits. "We keep moving," I said, hoisting the sword. "We go to Cosmo Canyon. We need answers. And if Shinra sends anyone else..." I looked at Cloud, and he nodded. "We send them back in pieces." The Temple of the Ancients didn't look like a building. It looked like a fever dream carved out of stone. We stood at the entrance, a massive archway covered in moss and vines that looked like grasping fingers. The air was cold, smelling of damp earth and something older, something stagnant. It was the smell of a tomb that had been holding its breath for 1,000 years. Aerith stepped forward. She placed her hand on the stone. Her eyes closed. A faint white glow emanated from her palm. "It is screaming," she whispered. "The voices..." They're terrified. I gripped the handle of the Buster sword. I didn't like this. I didn't like magic ruins. I preferred steel and concrete. Things you could hit. Things that made sense. This place felt wrong. It felt like walking into the stomach of a sleeping beast. Let's get in, get the rock, and get out, I said, trying to sound confident. We entered. Inside, the laws of physics seemed to be a suggestion rather than a rule. Staircases spiraled upside down, corridors twisted into loops. Massive stone gears turned slowly in the void, powered by an invisible engine. It was a maze, and we weren't the only rats in it. "Keep up!" I shouted, slashing through a bioengineered lizard that lunged from the shadows. Cloud was fighting, beside me. He had a new sword now, a jagged rune blade we had picked up in Junon. He was moving better. The encounter in Gongaga had woken something up in him. He was sharper, more aggressive. But I noticed how his eyes kept darting to the shadows, as if he was tracking movement I couldn't see. We pushed deeper. We solved riddles that made my head hurt. We fought dragons that breathed fire hot enough to melt armor. We chased a small, strange creature, a stuffed cat riding a giant Moogle doll. Kate Sith. He claimed to be a fortune teller, but he smelled like a Shinra spy. I kept an eye on him. Finally, we reached the heart of the temple. It was a mural room. The walls were covered in carvings depicting the end of the world, a giant meteor crashing into the planet, a wound that would never heal. And there, standing in front of the mural, was the man we had chased across 2 continents. Sephiroth. He wasn't transparent this time. He looked solid, real. He was reading the ancient text, his back to us, "And the planet shall be cleansed," he murmured. His voice echoed, not off the walls, but inside my skull. I drew my sword. Cloud drew his. "Sephiroth!" I roared. He turned. He didn't draw his weapon, he just smiled. It was a soft, patronizing smile. The kind you give to a child who is trying to lift a heavy box. "Zack," he said. "And the puppet. You made it. I am impressed. Most failures would have died in the wasteland." "Shut up," Cloud snarled. He took a step forward, his blade trembling. "Ah," Sephiroth said, his eyes locking onto Cloud. "The anger. Good. Let it in. Let the reunion guide you. You feel it, don't you? The itch beneath the skin." Cloud gasped, clutching his chest. He dropped to one knee. "Stop it." I stepped between them, blocking Sephiroth's view of Cloud. "Fight me, you coward. Leave him out of this." Sephiroth laughed. It was a cold, sharp sound. "Fight you? Why would I fight you, Zack? You are already mine." He raised a hand. Pain. It wasn't physical pain. It was a command. A neural spike driven directly into my brainstem. My body locked up. My muscles seized. The Genova cells, the S cells that Hojo had pumped into my veins, responded to their master. Kneel. My knees buckled. I slammed into the stone floor. I tried to stand, but my legs wouldn't obey. It was like sleep paralysis, but I was wide awake. "Zack!" Aerith screamed. She ran toward me, but Sephiroth flicked his wrist. A wave of force knocked her back. She hit the wall and slid down, unconscious. "Aerith!" Tifa yelled, rushing to her side. Sephiroth walked toward us. The click of his boots on the stone was the only sound in the room. He stopped in front of me. He looked down. "You were a prototype, Zack," he said casually. "A rough draft. You resisted the cells because your mind was already hardened by soldier training. You kept your ego. That makes you useless for the reunion." He looked past me, at Cloud, but him. He is a blank canvas, an empty vessel waiting to be filled. Cloud was on the ground, writhing. He was clutching his head, screaming silently. His eyes were glowing so bright they looked like flashlights. Cloud. I gritted my teeth, forcing my body to move. I managed to lift my head. Don't listen to him. Remember Gongaga. Remember your mom. Sephiroth stepped closer to Cloud. Forget, he whispered. Forget the past. There is only the future. There is only the black materia. He pointed to the altar in the center of the room, a small floating pyramid, the black materia. Go, Sephiroth commanded. Retrieve it for me. Cloud stood up. His movements were jerky, mechanical. His face was blank. The panic was gone. The fear was gone. There was nothing left but obedience. No, I screamed. I pushed against the paralysis. I felt a blood vessel burst in my nose. Warm liquid ran down my lip. I forced my arm to move. I grabbed Cloud's ankle. Cloud, stop! It is me! It is Zack! Cloud stopped. He looked down at my hand, gripping his boot. For a second, the blankness wavered. He blinked. Zack? He whispered. Do it! Sephiroth commanded. His voice thundered, vibrating through the floor. Cloud screamed, clutching his head again. He kicked me, hard. His boot connected with my jaw. My head snapped back. I lost my grip. Cloud walked to the altar. He reached out. He took the black materia. Good boy, Sephiroth purred. No. I wheezed, trying to crawl. I was helpless, the strongest soldier in the world. And I couldn't even stand up because my own blood was betraying me. Cloud turned around. He held the materia out. Sephiroth began to float. He hovered over the pit in the center of the room. Bring it to me, Cloud. At the northern crater. The promised land awaits. Cloud nodded. Sephiroth looked at me one last time. Do not worry, Zack. You will be part of it too. When the meteor falls, we will all be one. He vanished. The paralysis broke instantly. I scrambled up, ignoring the dizziness. I lunged for Cloud. Cloud, give it to me. Cloud was staring at the black materia in his hands. He was trembling. The glow in his eyes was fading, replaced by horror. What? What did I do? He stammered. You didn't do anything, I said, grabbing his shoulders. It was him. He controlled you. Give me the rock, Cloud, now. Cloud looked at me. He looked terrified. I can't hold it, Zack. He is in my head. He is so loud. Give it to me. I snatched the black materia from his hands. It was cold, freezing. I shoved it into my pocket. We have to go, I said. This place is falling apart. The temple began to shake. The walls were cracking. The magic holding the structure together was unraveling. We gathered the team. Aerith was awake, groggy but okay. Tifa was supporting her. Kate Sith, or rather the robot cat, had sacrificed his body to shrink the temple down, turning the entire massive structure into the materia I now had in my pocket. We ran. We sprinted through the collapsing corridors, dodging falling debris. We burst out of the entrance just as the entire temple imploded, folding in on itself with a sound like thunder. We stood on the edge of the pit, panting, covered in dust. We were alive. We had the black materia, but we had lost something. I looked at Cloud. He was sitting on the grass, staring at his hands. He looked broken. He made me do it, Cloud whispered. I didn't want to. I swear, Zack, I didn't want to. I walked over to him. I knelt down. I put a hand on his shoulder. I know, I said quietly. I felt it too. Cloud looked up at me. You? Yeah. I couldn't move. He has a leash on us, Cloud. Both of us. I looked at the black materia in my hand. It was a curse. As long as we had it, Sephiroth would come for us. And he wouldn't use swords next time. He would use our own minds. I stood up. I looked at the group. "We are going north," I said. Aerith looked at me. "To the sleeping forest?" "To the city of the ancients," I said. "We need to find a way to counter this. We need to find out what Sephiroth is really afraid of." Aerith nodded. She looked determined. "I think I know, but I have to go alone." "No," I said sharply. "No more splitting up. We stick together. If Sephiroth can control us, we need eyes on each other 24/7. Nobody goes solo. Not you, not Cloud, not me." Aerith hesitated. She looked at the forest in the distance. "Zack, there is a prayer for Holy. It is the only thing that can stop Meteor. If I don't pray, then we pray with you," I said. "We guard you while you pray. But you are not walking into the dark alone. I promised your mom I would keep you safe, and I don't break promises." She smiled. It was a sad, knowing smile. "Okay," she whispered. "Together." We made camp that night at the edge of the excavation site. The mood was grim. We all knew the stakes now. Sephiroth wasn't just a powerful enemy, he was a god in the making. I took the first watch. I sat by the fire, the black materia heavy in my pocket. I watched Cloud sleep. He was tossing and turning, muttering names. I looked at the stars. We were walking into a trap. I knew it. Aerith knew it. But we had to go. Because the only way to break the leash was to kill the master. I touched the scar on my chest, the bullet wound from the cliff. "You missed me once, Shinra," I whispered to the dark. "And Sephiroth, you should have finished the job in the reactor. Because a failed experiment is still dangerous." I stoked the fire. The flames danced, casting long shadows. Tomorrow, we would reach the Bone Village. Tomorrow, we would enter the forest. And tomorrow, I would have to be ready to kill my best friend if he tried to hand over the end of the world again. I gripped the Buster Sword. Not on my watch. The city of the ancients was a ghost town, but not like the slums. The slums were haunted by poverty and rust. This place was haunted by silence. We descended the spiral staircase into the basin. The architecture was alien organic curves. Massive seashells turned into dwellings, glowing crystals that pulsed with a soft, aquatic light. It was beautiful, it was peaceful, and it terrified me. Every step we took echoed against the calcified walls. The air was cool and smelled of salt and stale magic. We found the sleeping quarters in one of the lower shells. I told the others to rest. They were exhausted. The journey through the sleeping forest had drained them. But I couldn't sleep. The black materia in my pocket felt like a lump of ice against my hip, radiating a low-level nausea that kept my nerves on fire. I sat by the entrance, sharpening the Buster Sword. The rasp of the whetstone was the only sound in the world. Cloud was sitting on a bed across the room. He wasn't sleeping either. He was staring at the floor, rocking slightly back and forth. He hadn't spoken since the temple. The guilt was eating him alive. He looked like a porcelain doll that had been glued back together wrong. "Where is she?" Cloud whispered suddenly. I looked up. "Aerith? She is in the back room, sleeping." Cloud shook his head slowly. "No, she is gone." I stood up, the whetstone clattering to the floor. I rushed to the back room. Empty. The bed hadn't been slept in. Panic, cold and sharp, spiked in my chest. I ran back to the main room. "Wake up!" I yelled, kicking Barrett's boot. "Everyone up! She is gone!" Barrett grunted, grabbing his gun arm instinctively. Tifa was up in a second, her eyes wide. "Gone? Where?" Tifa asked. "The altar," Cloud said. His voice was flat, monotone. He stood up, his movements stiff. She went to pray, to stop him. I looked at Cloud. His eyes were glowing again. That sick neon blue. "Let's go," I ordered. "Cloud, stay close to me. If you feel the headache, you tell me." We ran out of the shell housing and down the path toward the center of the city. The path wound around a massive underground lake. In the center of the lake stood a structure that looked like a giant, glowing carousel of glass and water. The altar. And there she was. She was kneeling at the edge of the platform, her back to us. Her hands were clasped in prayer. A faint, pale green light surrounded her, the light of the white materia. She was whispering, her voice carrying over the water like a melody. "Aerith!" I shouted. She didn't turn. She was deep in the trance. She was communing with the planet, trying to summon holy. "We have to get to her," Tifa said, starting to run across the stepping stones that led to the altar. "Wait," I said, grabbing Tifa's arm. "Look at Cloud." Cloud was walking toward the altar, but he wasn't running to save her. He was walking with a slow, predatory rhythm. He drew his sword. "Cloud?" Tifa whispered. I knew this scene. I had seen it in the temple. "Cloud!" I barked. "Stand! Down!" Cloud didn't hear me. He was locked inside his own mind, battling a voice only he could hear. He stepped onto the altar platform. He walked up behind Aerith. He raised the sword. No, I sprinted. I didn't care about stealth. I didn't care about strategy. I ran across the stones, my boots slipping on the wet moss. Cloud stood over her. His sword was raised high, trembling. "Kill her," the voice in the air whispered. It was everywhere, in the water, in the crystals. Cloud screamed. It was a sound of pure agony. He fought his own muscles. He lowered the sword inches from her neck, but he couldn't drop it. He was a prisoner in his own body. I tackled him. I hit him at full speed, knocking him away from Aerith. We rolled across the stone floor. Cloud thrashed, swinging the sword wildly. I pinned his wrists to the ground. "Cloud, snap out of it!" I roared, staring into his glowing eyes. He blinked. The tension left his body. He went limp beneath me. "Zack?" He gasped. I almost... I looked up. Aerith had stopped praying. She was looking at us, her eyes wide with fear. "Zack? Cloud? What are you doing?" "We are leaving," I said, getting off Cloud and pulling him up. "This place isn't safe. He is here." I felt it then. The air pressure dropped. The sound of the water vanished. The light in the room dimmed, as if a massive shadow had passed over the sun. My skin crawled. The S cells in my body screamed. Above us. I looked up. High above the altar, descending from the darkness of the ceiling, was a figure. He was falling in slow motion. The silver hair, the long black coat, and the sword, the Masamune. He was falling straight for Aerith. She looked up. She saw him. She didn't move. She couldn't move. She just watched death coming for her. "Move!" I screamed. But I knew she wouldn't make it. The angle was perfect. The speed was terminal. I didn't think. I didn't calculate. I just moved. I shoved Cloud aside. I launched myself toward Aerith. I didn't try to tackle her. There wasn't time. I planted my feet between her and the falling god. I raised the Buster sword. I gripped the hilt with both hands. I braced my legs. I looked up at the steel falling from the sky. Not this time. Clang. The sound was deafening. It wasn't just metal hitting metal. It was a bell tolling for the end of the world. The impact shockwave cracked the stone floor beneath my boots. Dust and sparks exploded outward. My knees buckled. I groaned. the weight of the blow compressing my spine. I opened my eyes. The tip of the Masamune was inches from my face. The long, thin blade was stopped dead against the flat of the buster sword. I looked up along the blade. Sephiroth was floating there, suspended in the air by the force of his descent. He was looking down at me. His cat-like eyes widened slightly, a flicker of surprise. "You," he whispered. "Yeah, me!" I gritted out, blood rushing to my head. I shoved upward. With a roar of exertion, I threw his blade off mine. Sephiroth flipped backward, landing gracefully on a pillar of crystal 10 feet away. I stood there, panting. My arms were numb. My sword was vibrating so hard it made my teeth ache. I looked back. Aerith was alive. She was staring at me, her hands covering her mouth. The white materia had rolled out of her hair and bounced into the deep water surrounding the altar. Plop. It was gone. I turned back to Sephiroth. "I told you," I rasped, bringing the sword up into a guard stance. "I am not a ghost, and I am not a memory." Sephiroth straightened up. He flicked the Masamune, clearing the dust from the blade. He didn't look angry. He looked amused. "You interfere with destiny, Zack," he said calmly. "She must return to the planet. It is the only way to stop the meteor. Or are you so selfish that you would doom the world to save one girl?" "I don't trade lives, Sephiroth," I yelled. "We find another way." "Another way," he mused. He looked at Cloud, who was struggling to his feet. Cloud was pale. He was looking at Sephiroth with pure terror. "Cloud," Sephiroth said softly. "Do it." Cloud froze. His hand went to his head. "No," Cloud whispered. "No, kill him," Sephiroth commanded. "Kill the interference." Cloud screamed. He raised his sword. He looked at me. "Run, Zack!" Cloud yelled, tears streaming down his face. "Run! I can't stop it!" He charged me, my best friend, my legacy. He was coming at me with killing intent, his movements sharp and precise Sephiroth's movements. I blocked Cloud's strike. It was heavy. He was strong, much stronger than he looked. "Cloud, stop!" I shouted, parrying a thrust. "I can't!" Behind him, Sephiroth laughed. He raised his hand. Genova. The water around the altar exploded. A massive, grotesque shape burst from the depths. It was a nightmare of flesh and tentacles, wearing a twisted smile. Genova life. Sephiroth began to ascend, floating back up toward the ceiling. "Enjoy the family reunion," he called down. "I will wait for you at the crater. Bring the black materia, Cloud. I know you will." He vanished into the shadows. I was left on the altar, Aerith cowering behind me, a giant monster rising from the water in front of me, and my best friend trying to take my head off. "Tifa! Barret!" I yelled. "Handle the monster! I have got Cloud!" Tifa and Barret rushed past me, engaging the Genova beast. Gunfire and martial arts strikes echoed through the chamber. I turned back to Cloud. He swung again. I caught his blade on the hilt of the Buster sword. We locked weapons, face to face. I looked into his eyes. They were glowing, frantic. "Knock me out!" Cloud begged. "Please, Zack, just knock me out." I hated this. I hated every second of it. "I am sorry, buddy," I whispered. I headbutted him. My forehead cracked against his. It hurt like hell. Cloud stumbled back, dazed. I dropped my sword. I stepped in. I delivered a short, controlled hook to his jaw. Cloud's eyes rolled back in his head. He crumbled to the floor. I stood over him, breathing hard. My head was spinning. I looked at Aerith. She was still kneeling, shaking. I walked over to her. I offered her my hand. "He is gone," I said. "You are safe." She looked at my hand. Then she looked at the water where the white materia had fallen. "I lost it," she whispered. "The prayer, it wasn't finished. And the materia is gone." I pulled her up. "We are still here, Aerith," I said fiercely. "We are still breathing. We will figure it out." The sound of Barrett's gun arm roared behind us as the battle with Genova raged on. I picked up the Buster sword. "Get behind me," I told her. I looked at the unconscious Cloud, then at the monster. We survived the cliff. We survived the reactor. We survived the assassin. We didn't save the world today, but we saved each other. And for now, that had to be enough. The wind on the northern continent didn't just freeze your skin, it froze your hope. We were walking through a white void. The blizzard was so thick I couldn't see my own hand in front of my face. The temperature was far below zero, the kind of cold that turns breath into ice crystals instantly. But the cold wasn't the worst part. It was the calling. It was a hum in the back of my skull, a constant droning vibration that pulled me north. It wasn't a sound I heard with my ears. It was a magnetic pull on the cells in my blood. Every step toward the crater felt right. Every step away felt like swimming upstream against a raging river. I looked back. The rope tied around my waist disappeared into the whiteout. "Keep moving," I yelled over the wind. "Do not stop. If you stop, you freeze." A tug on the rope. They were still there. Tifa, Barrett, Aerith, and Cloud. Cloud was the worry. He wasn't walking. He was shambling. He had been deteriorating ever since we left the city of the ancients. He wasn't speaking. He wasn't eating. He was just putting one foot in front of the other, marching toward his master. We reached the lip of the crater. The wind died down suddenly, as if the planet was holding its breath. The clouds parted, revealing the nightmare below. The northern crater. It was a wound in the earth, miles wide, spiraling down into darkness. But it wasn't empty. It was glowing. Streams of raw Mako the Lifestream were bleeding out of the rock, swirling in a vortex of green light. And there were people, hundreds of them. They were shuffling down the spiral paths, men in black cloaks. Some were crawling, some were limping. They were the clones, the survivors of Nibelheim, the experiments like us. I watched as a figure in a black hood reached the edge of a precipice. He didn't stop. He didn't look down. He simply stepped off, falling silently into the glowing abyss. "The reunion," I whispered. "Zack." I turned. Cloud was standing next to me. He had untied the rope. His hood was down, exposing his face to the freezing wind. He didn't look cold. He looked ecstatic. "We are here," Cloud said. His voice was dreamy, detached. "He is waiting." "Cloud, stay back," I warned, stepping between him and the edge. "We are not going down there to join him. We are going down there to kill him." Cloud tilted his head. "Kill him? Why would we kill him? He is going to save us. He is going to take the pain away." I grabbed his shoulders. He felt like a block of ice. "Listen to me," I said, shaking him. "It is a lie. Sephiroth is lying to you." "No," Cloud whispered. "You are lying." "What?" Cloud looked at me. His eyes were fully dilated, consumed by the Mako glow. "You are lying, Zack. You aren't real." I froze. The wind howled around us, but I felt a different kind of chill settle in my gut. "What are you talking about?" I asked. "I am right here. I am holding you." Cloud shook his head, a pitying smile on his lips. "No. Zack died. I saw him die. On the cliff. The troopers. There were so many troopers. They shot him. They shot him in the chest. He died in the mud. I stepped back, releasing him. This was it. This was Sephiroth's play. "Cloud, look at me," I yelled. "We survived. I carried you. We lived in the slums. We saved Aerith." It happened. Did it? Or did I just imagine it? The voice didn't come from Cloud. It came from everywhere. The scenery flickered. The snow vanished. The crater vanished. We were standing in Nibelheim, in the village square. But it wasn't the village. It was a stage set. A twisted, nightmarish version of the past. The buildings were cardboard cutouts. The fire was static, frozen in time. Sephiroth stood in the center of the square. He held the Masamune loosely in one hand. "Welcome to the truth, Cloud," Sephiroth purred. I drew the Buster Sword. "Get out of his head, Sephiroth." Sephiroth ignored me. He walked toward Cloud, who was standing paralyzed in the center of the illusion. "Look at him, Cloud," Sephiroth said, pointing a gloved finger at me. "Look closely. Does a dead man cast a shadow? Does a memory bleed?" Cloud looked at me. His face was twisted in confusion. He is my friend," Cloud stammered. "He is Zack." "He is a projection," Sephiroth lied smoothly. "A coping mechanism. You were too weak to accept his death, so your mind created a ghost. You created a Zack who survived. A Zack who could protect you. Because you are nothing but a failed experiment." "No!" I roared. I charged. I swung the sword at Sephiroth. The blade passed through him like smoke. An illusion. I spun around. "Cloud, don't listen to him! I am real! Touch me!" I reached out to grab Cloud again. Sephiroth flicked his hand. My body seized. The S-cells. The paralysis. It hit me harder than ever before. I collapsed to my knees, gasping for air. I couldn't move. I was a statue in my own body. "See?" Sephiroth whispered to Cloud. "He is glitching. The illusion is breaking down." Cloud stared at me. He stared at me kneeling on the ground, struggling to breathe. "Zack?" Cloud whispered. I tried to speak. I tried to scream, "Run!" But my jaw was locked. I could only stare back at him, pleading with my eyes. "He is not real, Cloud," Sephiroth said, his voice soothing, hypnotic. "He is just a ghost haunting your failures. Let him go. Give me the black materia, and the pain will stop. You won't have to be scared anymore." Cloud looked at me one last time. His eyes were wet with tears. "Goodbye, Zack," he whispered. He turned away. "No!" I screamed internally. "No!" The illusion of Nibelheim shattered. We were back in the crater. Cloud was walking away from me. He was walking toward the center of the vortex, toward a figure encased in crystal, Sephiroth, the real Sephiroth, or his body at least. "Cloud!" Tifa screamed. Tifa and Barrett came running down the path. They had caught up. "Stop him!" I managed to choke out, fighting the paralysis. "The black materia, he has it! Wait!" I checked my pocket. It was empty. When had he taken it? The tackle. Back at the city of the ancients. When I knocked him out, he must have swiped it then. He had been carrying it this whole time, waiting for the command. Tifa ran toward Cloud. "Cloud, stop!" Cloud didn't stop. He reached the edge of the Lifestream barrier. He held up the black materia. It pulsed with a dark, violet light. "Sephiroth!" Cloud screamed into the void. "I am here. I brought it." The crystal casing in the center of the crater began to crack. A massive eye opened within the ice. "Do it!" Sephiroth's voice thundered across the valley. Cloud threw the black materia. It spun through the air, a dark comet. It hit the barrier, and the world ended. It started with a sound like glass breaking, amplified 1,000,000 times. The barrier shattered. A shock wave of pure energy blasted outward. Tifa was knocked off her feet. Barrett was thrown into a snowbank. I felt the paralysis break as the ground heaved. I scrambled up, but the earth was moving beneath me. The crater was collapsing. The Lifestream erupted. It wasn't a stream anymore. It was a geyser. A pillar of green light shot into the stratosphere, piercing the clouds. And then the rumbling started. Deep, subterranean. The weapons. I saw them rising from the magma and the ice. Massive, godlike monsters. Diamond weapon, glistening and white, shouldered its way out of the cliffside. Ultima weapon, black and sleek, took to the sky with a sonic boom. Ruby weapon, red and terrifying, clawed its way out of the desert sands miles away. The planet was screaming. It had released its guardians. I looked for Cloud. He was standing on a precipice of rock that was crumbling into the Lifestream. He was laughing. He was looking up at the meteor that was already beginning to form in the sky. Cloud. I sprinted toward him. The ground was falling away. I jumped over a fissure. I reached the edge. Cloud was 10 feet away, separated by a chasm of swirling energy. Cloud, take my hand, I yelled, reaching out. Cloud looked at me. The madness was gone from his eyes, replaced by a terrible, hollow clarity. I really am a failure, aren't I? He said softly. No, just grab my hand. We can fix this. He shook his head. I am sorry, Zack. I think I need to wake up now. The rock beneath him gave way. Cloud. He fell. He didn't scream. He just fell backward into the Lifestream. The green light swallowed him whole. No, I dove. I tried to catch him. My fingers brushed his boot, but I missed. I slammed into the side of the cliff, hanging on by one hand. I watched him disappear into the current. He was gone, dissolved into the memory of the planet. Zack, get out of there. I looked up. The high wind, the airship we had seen in Junon, was descending through the storm. A rope ladder was dangling. Sid Highwind was screaming from the deck. The ground began to liquidate. The entire crater was becoming a sea of magma and magic. I looked down at the abyss one last time. I failed. I survived the ambush. I survived the reactor. I survived the Turks. But I couldn't save him from himself. I climbed. I clawed my way up the rock. I grabbed the rope ladder just as the ledge I was standing on disintegrated. The airship roared, pulling away from the devastation. I hung onto the ladder, swaying in the gale force winds. I watched the northern crater recede. I watched the colossal forms of the weapons dispersing across the globe to wreak havoc. I watched the sky turn red as the meteor began to summon. I pulled myself onto the deck of the Highwind. Tifa was there. She was sobbing into Barrett's chest. Aerith was staring at the horizon, her face pale as death. I stood up. I felt hollow. I felt like the Tin Man without a heart. He is gone, I said. My voice didn't sound like mine. It sounded like an old man's. Tifa looked at me. Her eyes were red. We lost him? Yeah, I said, looking at the Buster sword strapped to my back. The sword I was supposed to pass on. The sword that was supposed to be his legacy. We lost him. I walked to the railing of the airship. I looked down at the world. It was burning. Panic was spreading. The sky was bleeding. Shinra had failed. Avalanche had failed. I had failed. Sephiroth had won. But as I watched the red star burning in the sky, a cold, hard rage settled in my chest. It replaced the grief. It replaced the guilt. He thinks he won, I whispered to the wind. He thinks the story is over. I reached back and drew the Buster sword. The steel glinted in the apocalyptic light. I am not dead, Sephiroth, I roared at the sky. Do you hear me? I am not a ghost, and I am coming for you. I turned back to the crew. They looked terrified, defeated. "Listen up!" I barked, the soldier command voice cutting through the wind. They looked at me. "We aren't done," I said. "We lost a battle, a big one. But the war isn't over. Cloud is gone. That means we fight for him. We fight for the planet." I looked at Tifa. I looked at Aerith. "Who is with me?" Tifa wiped her eyes. She stood up. She wrapped her hands in bandages. "I am," she said. Barrett loaded his gun arm. He didn't say anything. He just nodded grimly. Aerith stepped forward. Her eyes were sad but clear. "The planet is still fighting," she said. "So are we." I nodded. "Plot a course for Junon," I told the pilot. "We need to regroup. We need a plan, and we need to find out how to kill a god." The high wind banked, turning away from the crater, turning away from the failure. I didn't look back. I couldn't. Because if I looked back, I knew I would break. And right now, the world didn't need a broken man. It needed a soldier. The world was dying, but Midil was already a ghost town. We found him there, washed up on the shore of the inland sea like a piece of driftwood. The Lifestream had spit him out. It had chewed him up, tasted the poisoning in his blood, and rejected him. He was in a wheelchair now. A doctor in the village, a kind man who didn't ask questions about the massive sword on my back, had given it to us. Cloud sat in it, staring at the sky. The meteor hung above us, a red, angry eye that grew larger every day. The weapons were rampaging across the continents, but Cloud didn't see any of it. He was drooling, his head lolled to the side. He was gone. I sat on the wooden porch of the clinic, sharpening my blade. The sound was rhythmic. Scrape, turn, scrape. Tifa walked out. She looked exhausted. She had been by his side for 3 days, talking to him, trying to get a reaction. Nothing. "He is not in there, Zack," she whispered, leaning against the railing. It is like the lights are on, but the house is empty." I stopped sharpening. I looked at the red sky. "He is in there," I said. "He is just hiding." He locked the door and threw away the key because the outside world hurt too much. Tifa looked at the fissure in the earth near the village. The ground in Midil was unstable. Pure Mako leaked from the cracks, glowing green and hissing like steam. "The doctor said the Lifestream is high here," she said. "It connects everything, memories, consciousness." I stood up. I sheathed the Buster sword. "I know what I have to do." Tifa looked at me, alarm in her eyes. "Zack, no. You can't just jump in. The toxicity will kill you. You have S cells. It will accelerate the degradation." "I don't care," I said. "I am not letting him die like this. Not a vegetable, not a failure. If he goes out on his feet." I walked over to the wheelchair. I knelt in front of Cloud. "Hey, buddy," I whispered. "I am coming in. Don't shoot the messenger." I wheeled him toward the fissure. Tifa tried to stop me, but the look on my face must have told her it was useless. She followed us instead. We reached the edge of the glow. The roar of the planet was deafening here. "Hold his hand," Tifa shouted over the noise. "If you get lost, I will pull you back. I will be the anchor." I nodded. I took Cloud's hand. It was cold, limp. I took a deep breath. I closed my eyes, and I stepped into the light. The sensation was immediate. It wasn't like falling. It was like being unmade. The physical world dissolved. The cold, the wind, the smell of the sea, it all vanished. I opened my eyes. I was standing in a white void. Floating doors hung in the air. Windows looked out onto scenes that played on loop. I walked toward the nearest window. It was Nibelheim, the water tower. A young Cloud was sitting there, swinging his legs. He looked lonely. "I am going to join Soldier," the boy said. "I am going to be the best, like Sephiroth." I turned away. That was a true memory. That was safe. I walked deeper. The void shifted. The ground became metal. I was in a truck. The rain was pounding against the canvas roof. I looked around. I saw myself, but it wasn't me. The Zack sitting in the truck was perfect. His hair was perfectly spiked. His uniform was pristine, not a scratch on the pauldrons. He was smiling, a confident, effortless smile. He looked like a recruitment poster. "Don't worry, Cloud," the Dream Zack said. "We will handle this. We are heroes." I felt a surge of nausea. I never said that. I was terrified on that truck. I was checking my ammo count every 5 seconds. "This is it," I whispered to the void. "This is the lie." I stepped into the memory. "Hey!" I shouted. The Dream Zack ignored me. He kept talking to the grunt Cloud who was hiding his face in his helmet. "When we get back, I will buy you a drink," Dream Zack said. "Soldier's treat." I walked up to the Dream Zack. I grabbed him by the collar and yanked him out of the seat. He didn't fight back. He dissolved into pixels, glitching out like a bad computer program. The memory shattered. The truck fell apart. I was back in the void. But now, a massive door stood in front of me. It was chained shut. The chains were heavy, made of black smoke. "Cloud!" I yelled at the door. "Open up! Go away!" The voice boomed from everywhere. It was Cloud S' voice, but distorted, deep, angry. "You are dead. Zack is dead. I am the clone. I am the failure. I drew the Buster Sword. The real one. The scratched, dented, blood-stained reality. I am not dead," I roared, "and neither are you." I swung at the chains. The blade sparked against the smoke. The impact jarred my arms, but the chain snapped. The door creaked open. I stepped through. I was in the reactor, the Nibelheim reactor, but it was twisted. The walkways were endless. The Genova tank was the size of a skyscraper, and standing on the bridge was Cloud. But he wasn't the Cloud in the wheelchair. He was the Cloud I had seen in Midgar. The mercenary, the ex-soldier. He was wearing my uniform. He was carrying my sword. He stood tall, his posture perfect, his expression cold and detached. He was the mask. "Intruder," the masked Cloud said. "Identify yourself." "I am your best friend, you idiot," I said, walking onto the bridge. The masked Cloud shook his head. "My friend is dead. He died a hero. I carry his legacy. I am his living legacy." "You are carrying a lot of baggage is what you are carrying," I snapped. "Look at me, Cloud. Look at the face." Masked Cloud looked at me. His eyes narrowed. "You are an imposter. A weakness. Zack was strong. Zack never doubted. Zack never failed. Is that what you think?" I laughed bitterly. "You think I never doubted? You think I wasn't scared when we faced an entire army?" "He saved me," Masked Cloud insisted. "He gave his life for me." "I am right here," I yelled, spreading my arms. "I didn't give my life. I fought for it. And I dragged your sorry butt halfway across the continent because I was too stubborn to die." Masked Cloud drew the Buster Sword, his version of it. It was shiny, new. "Lies," he hissed. "If you are alive, then I am nothing. I am just a grunt who couldn't save his mom. I am just a kid who got sick on the truck." He charged. I brought my sword up. We clashed. It was like fighting a mirror. He knew my moves. He knew the soldier's stance. But his attacks were too perfect. They were textbook. They lacked the grit of real combat. He fought like someone who had read the manual, not someone who had lived the war. I parried a strike and shoved him back. You are hiding, I yelled, swinging low. You painted over the truth because it hurt too much. Shut up, masked Cloud screamed. He swung wildly. I am first class. You are an infantryman, I countered, catching his blade. And that is okay. I headbutted him. The same move I used at the altar. Masked Cloud stumbled. His image flickered. For a second, I saw the real Cloud underneath the skinny kid in the blue uniform. I dropped my sword. I tackled him. We hit the metal grating. I pinned him down. Listen to me, I shouted in his face. You didn't kill Sephiroth because you were a soldier. You killed him because you were angry. You killed him because you were strong. You don't need my resume to be a hero, Cloud. Masked Cloud struggled. Tears were streaming down his face. But I am weak, he sobbed. I am so weak. No, I said, my voice softening. You are broken. There is a difference. I let him go. I sat back on my heels. Masked Cloud sat up. He looked at his hands. The soldier uniform began to fade. The purple dye bled away, turning into the dusty blue of a standard trooper. The Buster sword on his back dissolved into mist. The scenery changed. The reactor vanished. We were back on the cliff. The rain was falling. The mud was wet. I saw myself lying on the ground, battered, bleeding, but breathing. I saw Cloud crawling toward me. I watched the memory play out. The real memory. Zack. The memory Cloud whispered. Hey, Spike, the memory Zack wheezed. Looks like we made it. I looked at the Cloud sitting across from me in the void. He was watching the scene too. His eyes were wide, clear. I didn't die, Cloud whispered. No, I said. And you didn't die either. I smiled. It was a tired smile. Nope. Hard to kill. Cloud looked at me. The real me. He looked at the scar on my cheek, the dirt on my armor. I made it all up, he said, his voice trembling. I took your life. I stole your stories. I wanted to be you so bad that I forgot who I was. You did what you had to do to survive the trauma, I said. Hojo's experiments. The Mako. It scrambled us, Cloud. But you have to wake up now. You can't be me anymore. I am already me. Cloud looked down. Who am I then? I reached out and put a hand on his shoulder. You are Cloud Strife, I said. You are the guy who threw a reactor at a god. You are the guy who saved Tifa. You are my partner. Cloud took a deep breath. He closed his eyes. Cloud Strife, he repeated. The void began to turn white. The ground shook. We are waking up, I said, standing up. You ready? Cloud stood up. He looked shaky, but he stood on his own 2 feet. Zack? He asked. Yeah? Thanks. For coming back for me always, I said. The light swallowed us. I gasped, my eyes flying open. I was back in Midgar. The roar of the Lifestream was loud but distant. I was lying on the ground near the fissure. Tifa was hovering over me, her face pale. Zack, are you okay? I sat up, coughing. My head pounded. My veins felt like they were filled with ice water. The dive had taken a toll. I am fine, I rasped. I looked at the wheelchair. It was empty. I looked around. Cloud was standing at the edge of the cliff, looking out at the ocean. He was still wearing the invalid's clothes, but he wasn't slouching. He was standing straight. Cloud? Tifa whispered. He turned around. His eyes were blue, not the glowing neon blue of the mania, just blue, deep and clear. Tifa, he said softly. Tifa burst into tears. She ran to him. Cloud caught her. He didn't stand there awkwardly like he used to. He hugged her back. He buried his face in her hair. I'm sorry, he whispered. I'm so sorry I made you worry. I stayed back, giving them a moment. I leaned on the Buster sword, using it as a crutch. I felt lighter. The ghost was gone. The imposter was gone. Cloud looked over Tifa's shoulder. He locked eyes with me. There was no hero worship in his gaze anymore. No confusion, just respect. "Zack," he said. I nodded. "Welcome back, soldier." He smiled. It was a small, genuine smile. "Let's go," Cloud said. "We have a meteor to stop." We walked back toward the village. 2 soldiers, 1 sword, 1 mission. The band was finally back together, and this time, we were playing in tune. The descent was endless. We weren't walking on rock anymore. We were walking on memories crystallized into floating platforms. The deeper we went, the less sense the world made. We passed through the strata of the planet. We saw fossils of ancient Cetra. We saw the wreckage of machines from eras long forgotten. And everywhere, the green light of the Lifestream pulsed like a feverish heartbeat. We didn't speak. There was nothing left to say. I looked at the party. Tifa, Barrett, Red 13, Sid, Yuffie, Vincent, Kate Sith. They were all battered, exhausted, running on fumes. But they were still moving. And Cloud. He walked beside me. He didn't have the Buster sword anymore. He had given it back to me without a word before we descended. He carried the Ultima weapon, now a blade, that shimmered with a strange, shifting light, reacting to the strength of his heart. He looked calm, terrifyingly calm. We reached the bottom, the core. It was a void of swirling energy. In the center, encased in a cocoon of pure Mako and Genova cells, he was waiting. As we stepped onto the final platform, the cocoon cracked. It didn't break. It dissolved. A figure descended. But it wasn't the man in the black coat anymore. He had transcended. He had 6 wings of light instead of legs. A halo of mathematical geometry spun behind his head. His right arm was a wing of black feathers that stretched out to eclipse the light. Safer Sephiroth. He looked beautiful, and he looked like the end of everything. "Welcome!" His voice boomed. It vibrated in my teeth. To the promised land. He didn't attack. He simply existed, and his existence pushed down on us like a physical weight. The gravity in the room shifted. Up became down. I stepped forward. I planted my feet. I hefted the Buster sword. "Hey, God!" I called out. "You look ridiculous!" Sephiroth looked down at me. His expression was serene, detached. "Zack, the anomaly. You are still here. I am like a bad habit." I grinned, though sweat was stinging my eyes. "You just can't get rid of me." "Then let us correct that." He raised a hand. The world shattered. It wasn't a metaphor. The platform we were standing on exploded into fragments. We were falling through a kaleidoscope of colors. Shadow flare. Orbs of dark energy surrounded us. They detonated in silence. "Move!" I roared. I didn't dodge. I tanked it. I swung the Buster sword in a wide arc, creating a vacuum that absorbed the brunt of the blast. The impact felt like getting hit by a train. My armor cracked. My ribs groaned, but I held the line. Cloud used my shadow. He launched himself off my back, a blur of motion. He was faster than I had ever seen him. He was a streak of blue light. He slashed at Sephiroth's main body. The Ultima weapon bit into the god flesh. Light bled from the wound instead of blood. Sephiroth didn't flinch. He swatted Cloud away with a wing. Cloud crashed into a floating rock, but he recovered instantly, flipping back into a stance. Barrett unleashed hell. His gun arm roared, a continuous stream of fire. Tifa was a blur of martial arts, striking the lower limbs. Vincent was transforming, becoming a beast of chaos. We fought. We fought for minutes that felt like hours. We fought until our muscles screamed and our lungs burned. But Sephiroth was inevitable. He began to ascend. The room darkened. The stars appeared. He wasn't just in the planet anymore. He was pulling us into a pocket dimension, a mathematical nightmare. "I will show you," Sephiroth whispered, "the truth of the cosmos, the sun." A massive blue sun appeared in the distance. It began to expand, a supernova. It devoured the planets in the simulation, Mercury, Venus, Earth. The heat hit us before the wave did. It was a psychic attack, a visual representation of despair. It was Sephiroth telling us that we were small and the universe was violent. I felt my mind start to crack. It was too big, too much. Then I felt a hand on my shoulder. I looked over. It was Aerith. She wasn't physically there. Her body was back in the water at the forgotten capital. But her spirit was right here. She was glowing with a soft, white light. "Stand up, Zack," she whispered. "It is just a show. It is not real." I blinked. The heat vanished. The despair lifted. I looked at Cloud. He was seeing her too. He was nodding. "It is a trick!" Cloud yelled to the others. "Don't look at the light! Look at him!" We focused. We pushed through the illusion. The supernova washed over us, but it didn't burn. It just washed away our fear. Sephiroth looked annoyed. The serenity cracked. "Why?" he hissed. "Why do you refuse to fade?" "Because we are stubborn!" I yelled. I looked at Cloud. "Ready?" I asked. Cloud nodded. "Ready?" We moved together. Perfect synchronization. I went low. Cloud went high. I swung the Buster Sword with everything I had. It wasn't about finesse. It was about raw power. I aimed for the core, the human torso emerging from the angelic horror. Cloud aimed for the head. Sephiroth summoned his Masamune. He blocked my strike. Clang. The sound rang out across the dimension. He blocked Cloud's strike with his wing. He was holding us both off. "You are nothing," Sephiroth sneered. "Maybe," I grunted, pushing against his blade. My boots were sliding on the energy floor, but I brought friends. Limit break. It wasn't just me. It was all of us. Barrett fired a beam of pure energy, catastrophe. Tifa unleashed a combo so fast, her fists caught fire, final heaven. Red 13 howled, summoning the spirits of the planet. The attack slammed into Sephiroth all at once. His concentration broke. His guard faltered. "Now!" I screamed. I dropped my shoulder and rammed into him. It was a dirty move, a Gongaga bar fight move. It knocked him off balance. Cloud saw the opening. He didn't use a spell. He didn't use a trick. He just moved. The Ultima weapon glowed blindingly bright. He swung, once, twice, 15 times, Omnislash. But he didn't finish it alone. On the final stroke, I jumped. I matched his trajectory. 2 swords, 2 soldiers. We came down together. The Buster Sword and the Ultima weapon. The past and the future. We struck Sephiroth at the exact same moment. There was no sound, just a flash of white light. Sephiroth's form shattered. The wings dissolved. The halo broke. The dimension collapsed. We were falling again. But this time, it was just me and Cloud. We landed on a platform of black glass. Around us, the universe was dark, silent, the edge of creation. Sephiroth stood across from us. He was back in his human form. No wings, no monster bits, just the man. He looked tired. He looked at Cloud. Then he looked at me. "It seems," Sephiroth said softly, "that I have been surpassed." He raised the Masamune. but not yet erased. He charged. It was the fastest exchange of my life. I couldn't even think. My body just moved. Parry, block, counter. Cloud was right beside me. We were a whirlwind of steel. Sephiroth was losing ground. For the first time in his existence, he was on the defensive. He swung at my head. I ducked. Cloud countered with a thrust. Sephiroth parried, but I was already moving in. I caught the Masamune with the cross guard of the Buster sword. I twisted, locking his blade. "Gotcha!" I yelled. Cloud moved. He didn't stab. He spun, delivering a massive overhead slash. Sephiroth looked up. He didn't look afraid. He looked accepting. The blade connected. Sephiroth vanished into black mist. The mist swirled, trying to reform, trying to find a purchase to return. I stepped forward. I sheathed the Buster sword. "Stay a memory, Sephiroth," I said to the mist. Cloud stepped up beside me. He sheathed his sword too. "Go home," Cloud said. The mist dissipated. He was gone. Really gone. The darkness began to fade. A hand reached down from the light above. A woman's hand. Aerith. I reached up. Cloud reached up. She pulled us out. Midgar was a ruin. Meteor had hit, but Holy had intercepted it. The Lifestream had surged up from the planet, pushing the rock back, saving the world at the last second. But the city was wreckage. I sat on a piece of twisted steel that used to be a highway overpass. The sun was rising. A real sun. Yellow and warm. My body felt like it had been run over by a tank. Every inch of me hurt, and it was the best feeling in the world. Because dead men don't feel pain. Cloud was sitting next to me. He was looking at the ruins of Shinra Tower. It was a skeletal husk now. The era of the electric power company was over. "We did it," Cloud said quietly. "Yeah," I sighed, leaning back. "We did." He looked at me. "So, what now?" I looked at the horizon. The world was broken. It needed rebuilding. There were no more soldiers, no more Turks, just people. Now? I stood up, groaning as my knees popped. "Now we live, Cloud. We get normal jobs. We pay taxes. We maybe find a nice girl who doesn't summon holy magic or punch things for a living." Cloud snorted. A rare sound. Good luck with that. I looked down at the Buster sword. It was chipped, scratched, covered in the blood of gods and monsters. I unstrapped it from my back. I walked over to the edge of the overpass. Below us, flowers were already starting to grow through the cracks in the concrete. Yellow lilies. I stuck the sword into the ground. It stood there, a tombstone for a life we were leaving behind. "Angeal said it was a symbol of honor," I said. "I think we honored it enough." Cloud looked at the sword. Then he looked at me. "You are retiring it?" "I am retiring us," I said. "From the hero business." I put my arm around his shoulder. "Come on, Spike. I hear Tifa is planning to reopen the bar, and I am starving." We turned away from the sword. We turned away from the ruins. We walked toward the sunrise. The future was scary. It was uncertain. It was messy. But for the first time in 5 years, it was ours. And so, the book closes on the timeline where the soldier lived. Thank you for walking this path with me. It is a long journey from the reign of the wastes to the sunrise of a new day. And I am honored you stayed until the very end. Stories like this, they remind us that fate is not written in stone. It is written in the choices we make when the odds are stacked against us. If this story moved you, if you felt the weight of the Buster sword in your own hands, please consider leaving a like and subscribing to the archives. It helps us keep the stream flowing and allows us to open more forbidden tomes. But the multiverse is infinite. There are countless other threads we could pull, and I want to know where you want to go next. What if Titus never faded in the dream? What if Noctis rejected the throne? What if General Leo survived the floating continent? Tell me in the comments below. Which reality should we visit next? Until then, rest easy. The planet is safe for now. This is the Midnight Materia writer, signing off.